is a production of Darn TV.
Well, we're back on a beautiful Wednesday evening, cool Wednesday
Hello?
evening. Jorn and Craig
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, cool comparatively speaking.
To yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
yesterday
95 yesterday.
Yesterday was pretty warm.
So
So
low 80s today.
yeah, another Wednesday night, we're getting kind of short on these Wednesdays. We don't have very many left of this race season.
What happened? I keep saying somebody pulled a month out of the summer. Like we went from like June 10th to July 11th. I don't know. A month disappeared in there.
I wouldn't threaten Jordan with that because he'll make a 2-for-1 out of tonight then.
Oh, no.
Well, we kept
This is
last
on
week's
me?
2 hours or something. Right at
Yeah.
2 hours we kept last week's.
I got home and my
Yeah.
wife's like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I think Jordan and I kept it going. We were here till after 10.
yeah. The
As
show
I was
after the
as
show?
I was editing and doing stuff and putting it out
Uploading
there.
and-
And for those that don't know, I'm not cutting them up and putting them on Facebook anymore because it's just way too much damn work. That's the real reason Brandon's lazy or just busy.
And you
Well, and I'm getting some feedback that you are putting up the tags that they can go
Yep,
to the
the
next
links.
thing. The links,
Yep.
yeah. So
The links.
that's
up to-
important to
yeah.
my age group.
Right. So you just click
My
on
world.
it. You go to YouTube,
So-
you watch it. You go to Spotify, you listen to it, and I even put the link to Darn TV on there as well because it's on the Darn TV website. So that's the update on where you can find the show. I apologize that I'm not cutting it up for Facebook. They will not let you put anything over. Like it's a weird number. I thought it was an hour. It's like
Yeah,
an
you
hour
shared
and
that.
4 minutes or some dang thing that, and it's hard to cut the show where you want to cut it.
I see. So you're so an hour 4 minutes, and if it doesn't land right in our conversation, it doesn't make sense to
Cut it.
bang.
Otherwise,
around,
how do
so-
you have the conversation end?
Yeah,
And then when you have a 4-hour marathon, it's hard to.
yeah. That'd be worse than the old 8-track player in the car when it clicks from channel to channel.
Yep.
This would be like huge. You'd have to
Yep.
Jordan,
reload the next.
he
one.
has no clue what an 8-track player is.
Oh my. Ah.
Yeah.
Maybe flipping the cassette over. You got that? Maybe?
I got that one, yeah.
man.
Yeah, my Walkman back when I used to mow grass with my headphones on. Oh, man, I got half the lawn mowed. Now I got to flip tape over and put it in the other side until I got one of them dual ones that played both sides.
See, that was already after my prime. That's terrible.
I've never heard of that either.
Got a cassette player in my Camaro still.
Yeah.
No cassettes.
Well,
but
let me
got a
tell you
cassette
what
player.
what I got in my Camaro. Remember the anti-theft days? You're not going to remember this either. When stealing stereos was a big deal, they came with that removable faceplate.
Yeah, the pretend one. Oh no, where you take it and then the radio itself is no good without the faceplate.
Right.
Okay, that one.
But
yeah.
even before that, you had the pull-out stereo. That's
Yeah.
what I got. I got the pull-out.
You just pull the whole stereo
The
out?
whole
yeah,
thing comes
it was
out.
in a canister and you like pulled it out and took it with you. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I got
Unplug the wires on the back?
No, it just must have some kind of a connection. You plug it in.
Yeah, it
Wow.
like had receiver connections on the inside.
Van
yeah.
Halen, 1984, still in that cassette player right there.
Those darn anti-theft things. I bought a Honda.
Supertramp,
I bought a
Breakfast in
Honda.
America.
Brand new Honda. Here we are 21 years later after buying this new Honda, the blue Honda. I've had it forever.
Ah.
21 years later, the anti-theft on the radio did its thing, and you had to have this 6-digit code. And I did all this Googling, and they said, well, you got a little card with your car when you bought it with that 6-digit code.
Uh-oh.
You think I have that card anywhere 21 years later?
That'd be gone with me in about 3 days. Oh.
We figured it out, though. Jenny got her figured out one way or another. She started hitting buttons till she got it figured out. So
You cracked the lock? You got through it?
Jenny did it. I didn't do anything.
Ooh, way beyond me.
Yeah.
Way beyond me.
Show rundown on the left side of your screen, brought to you by Sebo Motorsports, specializing in high-performance parts, chassis repair. Call Ryan at 701-720-3889 for all your hot rod and racing needs. The 5 car is over there getting a rear bumper put on it. I got in trouble in tech. I was illegal.
Really?
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Probably a little soft week over there this week. A little weather again. But the 5 car's got the wrong bumper on it.
Well, that was
wrong height?
No, that was built. That whole car was built before they came up with the new rear bumper rules. It had square tubing. You can't have square tubing. You have to have round tubing.
Oh.
And you can only have inch and
Huh.
So were you robbed of your win?
No, there's just a fix-it ticket.
Fix-it ticket?
But I have to have it fixed before I go back.
Ah.
So if we would have ran that feature, I could have ran the feature with that bumper on there. But
The next visit.
So now this Saturday, I have to have it fixed.
Ah.
So you just take it to Ryan and say, this
Well,
needs to be done?
I took the bumper off of it, took the bumper cover out, took it to Ryan, and Max took it to Ryan actually this morning. I did everything last night. Max loaded it up, took it over to Ryan, and he's going to make the bumper to fit underneath the tail
cover.
piece. The tail.
So
You almost have to do that. I mean, it's hard to just, I don't know, order a bumper and put it on there. 'Cause
there's a little fitting required.
Yeah, it has to fit underneath there.
I think I'd have sent a note with Max and said, Ryan, do not mess with any of the mojo. You may need to change the bumper 2 times out. Checkers.
Right.
So you don't want to mess with what's going on there.
You did. You don't mess with anything there.
But from a legality point of view, the Time Capsule 5 had to get updated to 2023.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
it does seem to be a Time Capsule 5 here.
It was one of them things, every racer does it. I don't care who you are, and people can call me whatever they want to call me. It's one of them deals, I knew it, and I just didn't want to mess with it. It was one of them things in my mind, it's not performance enhancing. It's not anything that's going to make me win or lose a race.
Yeah.
And it's actually probably safer to have the bumper I had on there compared to what the IMCA rules are, because we can get in a whole conversation, because I had some talks with the IMCA people this week about their rear bumper rules. Not excited about their rear bumper rules, but whatever.
Yeah. So sometimes those things go down their own rabbit hole because of a particular instance, and they're trying to make things better when maybe it was just such a unusual thing.
From what I understood, people were using the rear bumper as ballast.
Oh,
they were
right.
getting pretty creative.
Hobbies can't put on lead, so
that the rear bumper was the place they were building big, heavy,
solid rear bumpers.
Rear bumpers.
I always forget that hobbies cannot add ballast.
So that's what the reason why they have the rule the way it is what I was told is because people took advantage of the rear bumper deal and were using it as ballast. And I was like, well, that sucks.
All right. Like so many things, when you understand it, it makes sense.
What's ballast?
Ballast is lead. Well, I'm going to call it lead, but weight. Yeah.
Ballast is another term for weight.
So that you want most people want to have a heavy back end for traction, and that would be the case on this.
So then that adds to my point even more. Do you think Ryan's going to put a lighter rounded bumper on there than what it is there?
There's no question it's going to be lighter, because by the letter of the rules, compared to what was on there, by the letter of the rules, it's going to be lighter no matter what. So
to go one step farther, Craig, what you're asking is, Brandon, are you taking off a 500-pound bumper and replacing it with a 15-pound bumper?
No. There might be 10
Craig,
pounds.
am I going the way you're thinking there?
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm using 500 as an astronomical number, but maybe a 50-pound bumper getting replaced with a 15-pound bumper?
Looking the way you've been looking, you
Which
put it
is
on the
very
trailer and you open the bag of Cheetos and you say, she's good for the next night.
Well, I might have to eat about 3 extra bags of Cheetos to make up for that rear bumper weight I'm going to lose.
Well, let's not let the 5-car get too far away now. Remember, it had a brake issue, which
it's corrected
right out of the barn. I mean, this thing is a tiger. Wow.
And I think that may have helped you driving it that way, because it didn't look like you used any. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit.
Way ahead.
All right,
we can get
I'll can it up.
You're excited. We got so we started the weekend. We're gonna roll through the weekend here. Devil's Lake Speedway.
Thursday night.
Thursday night, I was invited over there. Not invited to. I kind of came over there on my own, just to give Grover a hand.
Mm-hmm.
Grover was the announcer. Brendan Grover was.
Lightning sprints.
Mm-hmm. I went over there and ran camera for him and did a little co-announcing with him. Fun time. 41 lightning sprints from all over the country and Canada.
I've heard or seen nothing, so this is all fresh to me right now. And
California was represented. Quebec was represented up in Canada. They were all over the place. Colorado.
This was a big event.
Big event. 41 of them I thought was an excellent show. They actually started in Devil's Lake Thursday, went to River Cities and Grand Forks Friday, Greenbush on Saturday, and then ended at Buffalo River on Sunday.
What does that feature pay to make it worth your while to come all the way from California?
I don't have a clue.
Yeah. Well, if it's like most of us racers, it's just part of the vacation.
They labeled this event the Lightning Sprint Nationals, so it has to have some extra pay involved. I apologize, I don't know the pay.
But so North Dakota must be attractive being out in sunny California, because we've seen a lot of guys from California. Ethan Dotson coming for the mod tour.
Cody
we
Laney.
we got the Aussie coming running Legends.
Yeah.
And now Lightning Sprint. I mean, geez.
I
wouldn't think North Dakota would be a vacation hotspot.
And then so that night the racing was fantastic.
We were our own best secret.
Right. The racing was fantastic. There was a car.
Had the other regular classes.
Had the regular classes.
WISSOTA Streets.
WISSOTA Streets, I think they had 14 of them for $400 to win. They put on a good show. That racetrack races so well.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
It was a good show.
Nice layout.
I wish I would have kept it, because I got another cool shot that night on my camera. I should have downloaded it for this show here. But one of the cars, I think he was from California. He came from a B main, and he started like 17th or 18th in the A main. He was all the way up passing for second. He was way up. His right rear was almost hanging off the top of the track.
Wow.
That's how high he was up on the track. Everybody else was kind of doing that middle to bottom thing.
Yeah.
And he was way up.
Wow.
Man, with about 5 laps to go, maybe 4 laps to go, the left part of his wing, the one that sticks up in the air that kind of catches the wind, he went into turn 1, and that thing folded over.
Uh-oh.
And I got it on camera. I should have downloaded it so you guys could have seen it.
Off he went?
He didn't go off. He kept it on the track.
He did.
He figured out a way to keep it on. Now he fell back to 5th or 6th, because once you lose that downforce, that side force with that wing, just one of the weirdest things, coolest things I've seen.
Nice drive from the back then.
Yeah. Yep. And it was a father-son that came from California, and his son was like right behind him, kind of learning or whatever, seeing
Those father-son deals, Craig.
Oh, that's interesting you bring that up.
So it was a good time. They went to Grand Forks. I'm going to jump to Friday night. I can't even remember who won over there. Dexter Diversion or something picked up the feature win. Names we don't know, so I'm not going to say a whole bunch of them, I guess. They went to Grand Forks on Friday night, and I seen an interesting comparison with them Lightning Springs compared to the World of Outlaws. They were 0.02 of a second faster, the fastest Lightning Spring lap, than the fastest World of Outlaws sprint car lap.
Really?
Compared to June. When the World of Outlaws sprint cars were there in June, the Lightning Sprints were actually faster.
Wow.
Explain.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know why.
So
I just seen the
what kind of motor are they running?
There must be little motorcycle engines.
Yeah,
they're high pitched, just kind of like a Legend is. And
I know what you're
like a Legend motor.
I know what you're selling. This is the patented Brandon Beater line.
What?
You need to slow down to go faster. So maybe that littler sprint isn't as fast and can get around the turns quicker, where the big 410's just driving it in there.
Get so much speed, you got to slow it down so much that you're actually not going all that fast in a completed loop.
Yeah, so on June 6th, on June 2nd, when the World of Outlaws were there, the Brad Sweet had the fastest lap of the feature race at 11.448. This is in River Cities. This is in Grand Forks. And Grant Sexton, who is one of the father-son, I don't know if he's the dad. If it was him or his dad that lost the wing, but he was the one. They're from California. His fastest lap was 11.415.
Wow.
That would be cool to see the Lightning Sprint running with the World of Outlaws and whooping them.
Oh. Yeah, that would
but
hurt,
there's
that would
a lot
hurt some egos.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things to consider. The track tackiness versus one night to the next.
That really is interesting because, I referring back to our one show there where we talked about the topless, and that Robbie was right there in the middle of the speed of the modifieds that night. As a sport mod, he was second fastest that night, remember?
Could have been running with the big show.
So certainly on the stopwatch. Now, having the dimensions of the race at hand sometimes changes things.
Changes everything.
But time is time, and they're there.
When you look at that, you're like, wow.
And I think if you go back to the Governor's
Cup. It is a wow
Cup,
moment. I agree.
They have the 410s. They can run a 410 in the NOSA sprints or a 360.
Yes.
And Mark Dobmeyer raced the Governor's Cup, ran both nights, and I believe he had the 360 in. And you think it would be just unattainable to compete, right? Mm-hmm. Like if someone came with a V6 to run against you, you'd be like, bring it.
Yeah.
You know?
Depending on where that V6 came from, because them can be pretty stout.
As we've learned, I mean, no, you're exactly right. I mean, we're touching on things that seem to defy logic, but the stopwatch never lies. So, again, the 6-cylinders come up for the Rough Rider, and just they were the car to beat. So
the 6 shooters from Texas.
Well, at one point in time, didn't IMCA they made them illegal, or how they?
Oh.
I thought somebody did.
Yeah, there was between the claims, I mean they were expensive 6-cylinder motors, but I don't remember what it was, but it seemed like something got jogged there just to make sure that the majority of people still had competitive stuff. So, and that probably needs to be done.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring that up. It was an interesting tidbit that kind of landed in my lap via Facebook over the weekend. I was like, wow. That's those lap times are because they move. I mean, if you've ever watched a lightning sprint, they can move.
When I was down in Florida in the 90s, I know that they had a version of that car, and they were extremely fast. So,
well, I think Nick brings up often about the speeds that the slingshots are running, and they're running, I think, right with the hobbies.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
And these are 3rd and 4th graders.
Well, and I know the legend cars at Mandan, I mean, they're right in the thick of things too. So, yeah, I'm getting off course like I'm good at doing here. But I mean, that scaled down racing. I call it 5A scale because that's kind of what legends are and micros are and stuff like that. I think it's futuristic around here. I'm a big fan of mod lights. I know we don't even talk about them, but I'm a big fan of mod lights.
Just giving people a chance to look at what I'm talking about there.
That's the times up there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So actually, 3 of the lightning sprints were faster than Brad Sweet. Now, track conditions take into effect.
Yeah.
Time of year, the weather outside. There's so many things to take into effect. It's just simply putting in your mind that a lightning sprint has the ability to turn just as fast, if not faster, lap in the right conditions than the World of Outlaws.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it doesn't take weather into it and things like that. And I can see on Craig there. And we've tried to, in the past, try to have some of those comparison races, if you will, kind of the king of the hill, but with classes and stuff like that. And I remember back in the 90s, we did a modified, a late model, and a sprint car. And we figured it out to where the sprint car had to lap the modified twice and the late model once. And we had that, I don't even remember what we called it, but at any rate, it became a race coming around 3 and 4 of that last lap to make all that happen. And so, again, the times prove that they're the same speed, but the dimensions of racing might dictate otherwise. You might not be able to go up beside a sprint car with a legend car, if you will.
In Tony Marsh's heyday, when Tony was just dominant, and it was the super stock class, and he had the Nova, the 80, the orange and white, and everyone, bounties, whatever. I think it was super stocks and late models.
Okay.
And the late model feature came out, and this was just for fun, and they let Tony run. He started on the front row with the late models, and he led that feature for 8 laps.
Wow.
This is my young mind trying to remember all this, but that's why
impressive.
There's no video evidence out there, I don't think. So you can tell the story how you want.
There's the Craig brothers are a steel trap for Tony Marsh. So if I'm off at all on this, Stu will be all over me.
Fact checkers are gonna be on you. Yeah, continue. Yeah. Well, again, little avenue here. In the front is one thing. What would they do in the back? Would they be capable of passing? I'm not beating up on Tony's deal, but I guess I'm bouncing back to the Lightning and the World Outlaws. I mean, if they were in front, they could maybe maintain for a little bit, where the Outlaw car would probably pass it. That's where my mind's at. Could the Lightning do anything if it started in the back? Would it be able to pass? Again, I'm offering the dimension of racing.
It's no different. I'm gonna play a devil's advocate because I've wanted to try it. I want to stick a 4-barrel on my 602 crate and put some Hoosiers on and go race with the stock cars. Just go play with you guys.
Yeah.
Is that all you have to do?
No. The 602 is not legal.
Yeah.
There's so many things about that scenario that just don't work.
Yeah.
But it would be fun to do, and I really believe starting on the pin, I could hold you guys up enough
Mm-hmm. I
to
believe
get
that
in
too.
the way. But start me in the back, I don't think I'm passing a car.
Passing a car. Well, yeah. I mean,
You
this is yeah. We never know where we're going here, and I don't either. But I think that's a great. I think that's a great example. I really do. Brad King was having troubles with his hobby, and I was helping him troubleshoot in Underwood one night. I hopped in and drove it around, and there's a few laps that ran really good. And I made the deal. I said, if this thing had Hoosier tires on it, I don't know that my stock car could beat it. And you and I haven't had this conversation. I think you throw a 4-barrel at it and all that. I think stock cars are in trouble as a 4-barrel hobby with Hoosiers.
The reason why I bring it up is because coming up the week after Motor Magic is the Richard Jordan Memorial down in
Dickinson,
okay. And they allow Wissota Streets who get to run the 4-barrel, and they have the softer Hoosiers. They allow the Wissota Streets as they are to race.
Does the Wissota Street get a 602?
Yes,
they do. Okay,
yes.
So they get the car you're describing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Huh.
And Domagala won it last year. Started there with the Wissota Street. He started up front.
I see. Wissota Streets and stock cars were combined?
They combined for that deal because Richard Jordan was a Wissota Street stock driver.
Yeah.
Passed away.
Yeah.
Well, it was the Richard Jordan Memorial Wissota Street stock race. They brought in stock cars to replace the street stocks.
I see.
They still invite for that one event. That's why they moved it now to the end of the year, because that weekend can't be sanctioned anyways.
Yeah.
Because of Boone, that weekend can't be sanctioned.
Supernationals and the combination of cars.
Right.
So I think that's cool. A great honoring of Richard. And
yep.
He was with Wissota tracks now. Yeah. Wow.
So that
interesting.
It's one of them things that always has intrigued me. I was hoping Jason Berg would keep that Wissota Street just a wee bit longer, because that one of Berg's car that I had a 602 in there.
I see. Okay.
Don't we at Motor Magic let the Wissotas race with our IMCA stock cars?
I invited them one year and nobody showed up, and I don't think we've ever really put the invite out since.
No.
So that's an interesting. Who would you say would have the advantage of Wissota Street against the IMCA stock?
I think it comes down to track conditions.
Placement.
If the track is slick,
yeah.
And you're going to
position placement.
Yes. Then Wissota Streets, they're just fast enough. They'll be able to get in the way and hold people up if they start up front.
Yeah.
And then the softer Hoosiers would allow them to grip maybe a little bit more on a dry, slick track if it's later in the night.
I guess I'm going to offer a little bit more insight to this, because last year when we did practice day in Mandan at Oktoberfest, there were some Wissota Street cars out there, and at the beginning of the night, they were significantly faster than I was. At the end of the night, we were significantly closer.
Right.
I never did check times, but just kind of knowing where we were at on the track and if things were getting closer or farther apart. But by the end of the night, I thought we were probably a pretty even race. And again, it was a track that I hadn't been to for a while, and Dylan was making significant adjustments, and we were getting better. So
I think it'd be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I actually
position placement would be important.
One of my brainchild ideas is challenge races like that, because I go back to when John and you guys had the Sunoco Challenge. And they brought in the IMCA cars, or the Wissota cars, to race with the IMCA cars. And so that in my mind always goes, and why can't we have like a darn challenge series or something, to where we pick this? We're getting way off topic, and this show is going to get super long, but Brandon's mind never stops.
It's not always my fault.
You'd pick 3 racetracks that race with Soda, and you'd invite the stock cars to race with them at them 3 tracks. And you pick 3 racetracks that race IMCA, and you invite the street stocks to come race at them 3 tracks. And you just see what the comparison is. Like you guys have to go to a track like Jamestown or Mandan, or who would be the Devil's Lake. Let's throw Devil's Lake in there.
Yep.
And them 3 tracks would be prepped like they normally do for the normal classes, and then you guys jump in with the Wissota Streets. Well, then when they come to our tracks, it's
same thing.
Yeah. So the Wissota Street has better traction because it's got the softer, better tire?
I would call it a better tire, wouldn't you, a little bit?
That's the dialogue.
Right.
Yeah.
But the IMCA stock cars have the better motor?
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit more compression, a little bit more RPM. So, yes.
And other than the crate motor, well, I think the concept, Wissota has some weird motor rules. They have an open motor, claim motor they call it, a concept motor, and a crate. So I think the Concept and the crate motor get the 4-barrel.
Okay.
And the claim motor, the open motor, gets the 2-barrel, the 500.
Similar to the stock car deal then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of IMCA stock cars, I see Sean Strand has posted his hot rod that he was running during the tour for sale.
Yeah, I saw that also. I've got nothing to offer that other than I seen what you've seen. I don't know what I haven't got a chance to talk to Mark. I know that he come up and raced us that one night there on the 4th of July there before the tour had started. And we had kind of questioned where they had planned to campaign that thing. So and maybe some reality there has showed up. They're not in Mandown.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Excuse me.
So once we were done with Devil's Lake, we rolled into Williston on Friday night, who switches nights of the week, and the weather turns out good.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
And 2 weeks ago, or the previous race night, which was a couple weeks ago, we seen a very, very wet racetrack.
Yeah.
And I think we all could have predicted what was going to transpire in the sense of they were going to overpack it to not let the same thing happen again.
Overfix it.
Yeah. Which
understandable.
Understandable.
But they were tough on themselves on that. We'll call it the muddy night.
Yep.
And
but I think they were equally as tough on themselves after
the rubber night.
The rubber night.
I'm going to call this past one the rubber night. And with that said, we often talk about rubber a little bit at the tour, and it kind of comes and goes, and we rarely see it on a weekly show. And all the conditions were extremely right for rubber, and they got it. And what the fans see is we call it train racing, and one line becomes so dominant, and it rips the tires literally right off the rims.
We've been talking with Soda and the IMCA tire. Are one of those more susceptible to rubbering up the track than the other?
That is a good question.
And we don't have an answer. I don't have an answer for that.
I would think that the softer with Soda tire should rubber faster. That would be my thinking. I might be off. And with that said, the IMCA tire is designed to be hard, poor on traction, and long on wear. We'll always argue that it is not long on wear, so as buyers, as end users. But with that said, rubber started moving around in the heat races, and by the features, it was locked down. Just to quickly go to the end of it, the A mods that were falling out with flat tires.
Right rear flat tires.
Because they were burned off.
Yes.
Gone.
So then how would a Wasota ever make a whole night?
So then everybody gets excited. Then the drivers are mad because the track's too abrasive, and of course the promoter race club people don't want that because it's not offering you, the fan, a racing experience. So this is where I come in with my start when the sun goes down. That helps immensely. It does. But I maybe the other thing is maybe you got to go out and blade that thing at halftime, and that's been done at some big shows. It's maybe a little frustrating to have to tolerate a little bit of that time, but it's been a long time since I want to say it's been at least a while since we have been burdened with a rubbered weekly track, and
everything aligned right for it to happen.
The lack of humidity, the hard compaction,
wind.
The track was smooth.
The track was smooth. All the conditions lined up for rubber. It really did, and Browning, you touched on something. They were, and I've seen it, and I've been a part of it. When you get a track that has frustrated you or got you, and a snake bit you, got too wet. In the case of their wet track night, you're gonna overcompensate. You don't mean to, but it's to me it's human nature. You just overcompensate. You go.
This is not a rip on anybody.
Not a rip at all. It's just a human deal. And
we've done it. I did it in my presidency,
and we're going to continue to do it.
Yes.
You're so frustrated that you got what you got that you're going to swing 180 degrees on everything, but you think you're only swinging 90, but you are swinging 180.
Well, let me ask you this. So
yeah.
You got guys that are well known for running the top: Austin Doe, Tyson Turnbull, and now you seem to like to ride the lip up there pretty good too. Those guys, looking at Williston, I mean, if I could judge Williston, it very, very, very rarely, to me, do I see a top groove there.
Mm-hmm.
So does that deter people from that like to run the top?
Well, I guess that's probably a pretty fair question.
And how do you get that top groove in?
There's something there. Well, and I tell you, it is such a balance to try to get the top there without it being dominant. And I'll say this across the 4 classes. The Sport Mod and the Modified have got a Panhard bar or a J bar on it. And I call it artificial traction. So they can make a racetrack out there where a stock car and a hobby car says, we can't get out there. We're a momentum car. So you have 2 classes that are very momentous, and you have 2 that are what I'll call artificial traction. And to try to make a track for 4 classes, I think is literally impossible. I think what works for an A mod is a train race for a stock car. What works for a stock car is a rough track for an A mod.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
So what you're proposing is running those 2 classes that like a certain track and then prepping it for the other 2 that like their track a certain way.
Well, I guess I'm not suggesting anything, but
Hobbies
your
and
dialogue
stocks.
is going that way, and maybe there's something to that. I mean, always trying to make the show better. There might be something to that, and I don't mean to discount slingshots or compacts or anything in there either. But like I say, a weekly show that rubbers up in our neck of the woods is unusual, and and those that got bit by that are
to your
are
point,
frustrated.
Jordan. I do say this often to my group when it does rubber up. I always say, man, I could take the Marketplace store van. If I'm starting on the pin, I could hold those boys off with the old Ford.
I don't think you want that high
high weight.
That high center of gravity is going to hurt you on that one.
Well, and just to be clear on that, when it rubbers, it's not slippery. It's just the opposite.
The reason why
it's a tacky track without the tear-offs. So
the reason why
it's gripped up,
it tears up the tires is because that rubber on there is so grippy and abrasive. It literally rips the tread right off the tires.
Yeah.
So
you're on rubber. You're rubber on rubber.
Rubber on rubber.
So all of a sudden, the one that gives is your side.
But 30 years
tears
of
your knobs
racing
right off.
on the basin and the rubber it takes over the years. That rubber doesn't go anywhere. You may dig it up, but isn't it still eventually in the dirt where you're having rubbered up dirt?
Well, there's been that discussion. I'm not going to side with one or the other, but again, and a tire. Let's hypothetically say we got a 1/4 inch of tread, and we got 80 inches of it. So 4 of them on each car. I mean, that's got to go somewhere. The wind blows some of it away, but the earth is still a ton of earth. I do believe that there's a percentage in there. There has certainly been grounded conversations that there's too much rubber in the dirt, and that's hard to deal with. Every once in a while, a track will road disc things up to try to get a new surface, a new play surface, if you will. So, yeah, and that I've talked to nobody from Williston, but I would say that would probably be maybe kind of the right move going forward because it was black and it was rubber. Now, sometimes it's black and it's icy slick. That was not the case Friday night. It was. I was able to go back and watch my feature on that deal there, and Nick had made reference that I'm kind of a wet track guy. It was, and I mean, as far as the sensation of going fast, we were wheeling it right in there.
But you don't want to slide
around.
like
but you don't want to kick it. Yeah, I'm interrupting.
Yep.
You don't want to slide it out. We referenced Travis of that of keeping his car under him and mine out that one night when it was getting rubbery.
When Nick did his interviews with Cody Laney before the mod tour, he'd never. Doesn't race around up here much, and they was talking about the track, and he mentioned that. He said, I'll take anything, just don't give me a rubber down track, just so we all can race on it.
Yeah. Yes, that makes more sense to you as we kind of pick it apart.
And the benefit of what I seen Saturday, the rubber, I think even for you guys, the rubber was wider than it normally is. Like, you were able to hug the tires a little bit lower, and Adam was a little bit of a groove up.
Yeah.
And you could move up. Now, if you went too far, you weren't anywhere. You were going to
I don't know
skate.
that there was 2 lanes, but I'm
lane
with
and
you.
a half.
Lane and a half. Yeah. Adam approached it pretty aggressively, but he kept it under him too.
Yep.
So he did exactly what you got to do leading. He never let the left side get open enough.
Even down the straightaways.
Yeah.
Because
another thing I can reference on that is even though a wet track is a full throttle deal, a rubber track is not. Again, you don't want to slide it.
Modulating.
So modulating. That would be the right word, because I don't know that I was really. I use the term. I only used a quarter throttle. I used more than that, but I rarely ever firewalled it. You want to keep it so straight. Any skating sideways is just ripping those tires. So you want to keep them as straight as you can.
So the tires that were on your car Friday night, are they shot?
Both Adam and I made the reference that we would flip them and go to Canada. He was going to stay up and do his. I was going. I took mine from Underwood for the next night, just because I didn't want to flip them in the middle of the night when I got home. I come home, Adam stayed and drove to Underwood, Estevan the next day.
And I think he did flip them and had them on for the heat race.
He did. Oh, that was the plan.
Or maybe he was going to put them on for the feet. I can't remember. He did flip them. I talked to him. He flipped them.
We both had talked in tech that we were going to.
Because
use them again tomorrow.
His tires looked rather good. I seen some other tires from.
I thought mine were pretty good.
So the ones
I'm gonna reference there the J-bar difference there.
Yeah.
Because we're suspension as the hobbies are, and we just can't get the car pushed down like the J-bar Panhard bar cars can. So going forward on the discussion, those A mods, they can drive that rear end they just push those tires down so hard.
So it's the right side tires that take the brunt of the wear.
Yeah.
And that's when you say flip them.
Wayne Johnson said he wrecked 3, both rears and the right
Wayne
front.
had actually blistered. He went out early, and his left rear was blistered. We're parked side by side. Had Adam on one side and Wayne on the other. But and Adam and I are like, well, we could use ours over. And Wayne was frustrated, and I get it. But his left side was blistered. I mean, the modifieds with their suspension and all that stuff there, I mean, they got so much going on. But that J-bar can just push those tires down so much harder. Artificial traction, as I refer to it. In comparing cars, but so it wasn't a lot of racing. It was kind of a little bit of a survival deal, if you will.
Still a fun night to be back at the basin, and
for them to just have some decent weather, I was excited for that.
Yep.
You know, going into that weekend, you had shared that the other two classes still needed a fourth night to even crown a champion.
Yep.
And we're one night away from that. As is in the event, if weather was to hit them, they can at least finish the year.
They can crown everything now.
Everything now is at least reach the minimum. Again,
I don't think anybody. We're hoping for a fun championship weekend because we can talk about it next week. But it's one of my favorite weekends of the year when you hit bang, 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 3 championship nights right in a row.
It's going to be busy, but So Williston got through it, and but by no means bad. It like I say, it was good to be there. Little different presentation than maybe we're used to over there, and that's okay too. Keep the drivers guessing. That's always good.
Normally we hit the winners from each class. Our shows have been getting kind of long, so we're going to skip that part, and we're just talking about the high points or the low points or the javelin points. Should we cue replay for Jordan, or what should we do?
Boy.
I want to lead up into that
javelins
a little bit.
Yeah.
I was mentioning to you guys before we got on about how impressed I am with your point lead in Williston due to all the talent that is up there. You know, both Flory's, Hagen, Storbakken, Troy Heupel. You know, there's a lot of talent, a lot of heavy hitters in Williston, and you're leading the points. And the main thing is to avoid a DNF or a poor night. So you go out there Friday night and running hard, but again, you want to avoid disaster. And disaster's living in front of you all night long, starting with Mad Mike. He's in front of you, and something fails on his car, and you have to.
He's not able to go.
You have to avoid that.
Yeah.
And we fast forward. I'm not sure if the javelin incident happened first or the Storbach and Flory happened first, but you dealt with a lot of action in front of you that could have ended your night quickly.
Yeah. Well, you never know where adversity is coming from. I mean, they say all of a sudden Williston has a track that we're not used to, so you're kind of up paying attention to that. You know, you got to put on that suit, if you will, and then like you say, the way the race is getting played
and you
out.
have made me a much more knowledgeable fan, and you've been talking about drive shafts, what they do, the dangers of them, and so now I know all this, and Nick and Chris Bork can explain it in great deal what happens. So it kind of freaked me out a little bit about your safety on that.
It's funny the way all that worked, because when it initially happened down the back straightaway, like we'll cue it up here. When it initially happened, I might have turned the volume on it, but we'll cut to it here. We're gonna.
Fun fell out of the fun wagon as he
1, 2, 3
entered
battle.
corner
Goff, Flory, Jordan.
number 4.
You know,
He's
yeah,
on the back
it's already
straightaway. Let's
happened
look
here.
at it
Already
one more
happened there,
time
yeah.
here.
That's coming out of 4 there. So
we go back to
Had a
this
great
is
battle.
coming down the back straightaway out of turn 2.
Up front.
And
Joe
this is
is
a
on
replay
his
from
way.
Dart
Yeah,
TV,
you see
so
the
Nick already
sparks
has it
fly
slowed
out of
down
that.
for us here. But
20.
so it's broke there. Something came out and hit your hood there, but that's not the drive shaft.
I think that's the shaft right there.
I think it's
Right underneath the rear end of Flory's car.
Yeah, it's really hard to stop it, but
Gene.
There
it is.
It's in
It's
between
that
us.
white post in between
Sticking straight up and down.
Joe and Jorn right now. And to understand this drive shaft, when it leaves the car, it's turning the same RPMs
As the engine, as I've
as
shared.
the engine.
So we're chipped at 7,400. We're probably, I only turned 7,000 that night, so only. That's still a lot. So I would say that I think we're all probably geared pretty similar, the 633 in mine. So, but at any rate, so that gets out of Joe's car. Now let's walk through this slowly. That puppy dog is spinning.
Yep.
7,000 RPM, and it's disconnected from the rear end, and now it's coming out of the transmission. And Joe is sitting right here, and it's
His
right here.
His right leg.
We're this far away from the thigh.
Yeah, so
The thigh.
You're 6 inches and a couple pipes away from that thing taking out a leg.
Yes.
In essence.
So that had to hear, Joe must have heard felt some slapping.
Yeah,
in there.
it's so it wants to come out of there, and once it leaves the transmission, now it's 7,000 and working its way, trying to get around the rear end and out. So it's bashing off the floor, the tunnel that's in the car, in all rear-wheel drive cars. It's got to bang through that and bounce up and down. Now we have a drive shaft loop in there to, at least if the U-joint fails, it'll try to contain it in a cage. But once it gets beyond that, we just have the thickness of the steel of the floor all the way out.
So
Right.
and all this happens.
Right.
This video is slowed down. From the time that drive shaft breaks to when it eventually ends up in the nose of your car, it's not even a second.
It's split. Now, I want to point out something else in this picture. I cannot see any of the ground right now. I can only see the yellow of the back of Joe's car. But the way where I'm sitting in my car, I cannot see the ground. I mean, there's a good car between us there.
But to give the people at home an understanding, if you could see the ground and you were looking at the ground, you'd be what we call a hood pin racer. To where you're not looking far enough ahead of you. There is no damn way, if I'm you in this situation, I'm actually looking through the 20 at the 38. That's how I race.
Yeah.
I'm looking through.
And down the left side getting ready to enter 3.
Yes.
Because we're already arcing in.
Yep. So
you can,
what's on the ground in front of you, number one, you can't see because the hood sticks out in front of you. But number two, you're not necessarily looking at anyways because you need to be prepared for what happens if Joe doesn't make the corner. What happens if Adam doesn't make
Does Adam push a little or whatever?
You gotta be
getting ready for the
prepared.
situation.
Yep. I'm always preparing myself. It seems like a half a lap ahead or a half a straightaway. I'm always ahead.
Yeah, you're looking way ahead, and you're just kind of watching things flounder around, if you will.
Yep.
So boom.
You can see the drive shaft right above that white tire sticking out your nose piece right there.
It looks like a steer with the horn bent down.
Yep.
I think Nick made reference to that.
So we said javelin. I said javelin before. That thing is a javelin a foot to the left, driver's side, and a foot up. We're talking about a totally different thing now. And we don't even want to discuss that.
Yeah.
It's a bad situation that happened, but it's probably the best case situation that could have happened
for what we're dealing with.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to continue on racing, and you don't even really know what has happened.
So, Joe had some sparks come out
went right
earlier in the race, some previous laps there, And
to Storm and
I thought it was just the sparks
Jordan's
that we get off the
machine.
brakes sometimes. So when this happened, I ran over the other half of the drive shaft. It comes apart, and I run over something. And at the moment, I thought that I had ran
Joe's
over
gonna get moved
a
off
broken
the
rotor.
racetrack now
That's
as
what
he
I
needs
thought.
some
I
help.
didn't know. Because Joe continues to
Joe Flory are out,
go into
bad
the
bike.
corner like everything's normal. And I'm thinking, well, his brake pedal just went down. You know, at speed, you're thinking this. And we're getting ready to come out, and Joe's still in the groove, looking like he's racing.
Straight away, let's look
and
at
there
that
he lives. You know, he gets out just a lane for us to get under him. You know, without causing any.
But I think
any
it's
more
just
melee,
crazy to see. You get kind of a little better shot there of
Or even
the drive shaft
Yeah.
sticking out the front of the car.
It looks like a saber-tooth something there.
Yeah.
But,
So-
thinking about the points race, if that hits your radiator, well, you're not finishing.
It's
Yeah.
a DNF, and it changes the whole scenario.
Yeah.
And then if the scenario happens
That's exactly right.
that Brandon's talking about,
on the
it
back
could have really
straightaway,
hurt you,
let's look
Jordan.
at that
It really
one.
could have.
Well, and again, at this
More
point
time
in
here.
time, I don't know what happened. So when I circle around the next lap, I'm looking for broken rotor because they're hot.
Great battle up front.
And I don't want to flick that up.
Joe is on his way. Yeah,
I
you
do
see
run
the
a skid plate, so I'm thinking, well, I
There's
shouldn't have hit anything on the motor, but did I catch something on the suspension?
Something came apart here.
Sparks
You can
fly.
see parts come out of it.
out of that
I'm just trying to kind of
Yeah.
go.
20.
And
It was right
what's
there. That
interesting,
first something
Yeah,
came out right there.
Yeah, there is something there. Now, I did have some damage up on the hood, up by the hood pin, and the drive shaft was low. I don't know what I'm
20,
saying at
But
that. It's
something
just
you see something came out of it first.
almost more coming out of two.
Yep.
And then we cover the majority of that back straightaway.
Machine.
And then the drive shaft
and
comes
and
out.
that comes out. Yeah, you're
into
right.
three.
There is two things there. Jason Storbakken shared with me. He said I had a piece of something come through my passenger side. He said
that first piece of
missiled
whatever.
right on through, and he's right behind me. We're all lined
Yep.
up. We're all equally apart, going the same speed. So, but yeah, Craig, to your point, we have bars in front of us. That's to keep the mud
Right
and the little
about
rocks
here
from
on Darn TV,
doing much
you'll see in
damage.
just a moment.
Nothing
Yep.
stopping, a half a drive shaft.
What's funny,
including
you-
a
Look,
helmet.
the 20
you
Yeah,
obviously
including the
feel
shield.
went right
Yeah.
into the
it's kind of like the
front
old
of
NASCAR
Jordan's
reference. You
machine.
feel something. You seen something there because I'm going to notice
Notice the
flame. The flame coming
Yeah.
out. So you lift
Jordan's machine.
right
Yeah,
there.
right there.
you knew something.
Something wasn't right. I thought it was me.
Yep.
So
And then you
I can't see the ground. I don't realize
Yeah.
I've been
Joe's
hit
gonna
by
get
something.
moved
I'm
off the
thinking something's
racetrack
going wrong
now
with
as
me.
he needs some help.
So
yeah.
yeah,
The Joe Flory are out, Matt.
Great job by
I'm
the
here.
producer of the old races, Nick Hulberg, for catching that.
Yeah.
And
They were very insightful. Chris Borkin, Jen Ravinius was calling it up in the booth. Heard her voice, but and for you drivers,
Yeah.
it obviously was a bad deal for Joe, but he didn't get run over.
yeah.
I mean, everyone was at speed. They could have just.
It's surprising that they was able to coast around literally another lap. I was surprised to make it that far. Yeah. Everybody kind of. Well, you seen the evasive moves there down the front straightaway there by
everybody,
Maddox
Heupel and Maddox.
Heupel both there. Again, there's lots of traction out there, and things are moving right along when you get on the gas. So, but yeah, again, you'd rather be lucky than good, and here we are. I mean, I have my terms, my loose nut behind the wheel, and I'd rather be lucky than good, and that was just luck, and it went my way. To refer to your questions there.
Well, you could say that your guardian angel was riding in your passenger seat, but if that guardian angel would have been riding with Jason Storbach, and that guardian angel wouldn't have been fared too well.
Would have had to duck. So yeah, that was interesting. Now, I did not know I had a piece in my hood, and went on to survive 3 restarts and whatnot there. We get to the tech area, and I scale, and Aiden says, man, your front end, you ain't going to believe it. And I'm thinking, I asked him, do I have a big hole in it? He chuckles a little. He goes, you'll see it when you get out. And by the time I got out, Troy's pitman had already pulled it out. But our nose pieces, at least my particular one, is pretty thick. And to actually, to poke a hole in it the size of a drive shaft would take an enormous amount of I couldn't take something that size. I couldn't take a baseball bat and poke it through my nose, no matter how hard I tried. I could not do it. It would just bounce back. So it poked in there, hung in there, and stayed in there. Didn't get the radiator because it was all lined up to get the radiator. It just didn't go in far enough. So
better to be lucky than good.
Better,
You're right.
Rather be lucky than good. So
I can't pass on this opportunity. We've talked about how drivers sometimes in maybe a younger class drive a little bit aggressively or differently, and I've talked about how a Joe Flory might be in their future and would not appreciate a certain driving style. And it happened a little bit before that incident where a driver got into Dalton Flory in turn 1, maybe slapped it in there. And Dalton didn't care for that too much. And then going into 3, you were in the catbird seat to see it. And he went in hot.
Yeah.
Some of the aggression from Sunday night, the Nodak beforehand spilled over into Friday 5 days later.
I've referred to August as the dog days this summer and little frustrations here and there and stuff that.
There was an incident in the stock cars, that the Dalton Flory Storbakken deal, and then there was an incident in the hobby stocks. And I'm not defending either party in either of these situations. I'm just going to say this. I've been doing this racing thing. You have as well for a lot of years. I'm 25 years. You're 30 plus.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
If you are on a bottom racetrack or on a racetrack that the groove is more towards the bottom, and you're going to arc it way out to the top of the straightaway, and you're going to give up that piece of real estate that's on the bottom, and if you fully don't expect somebody to stick their nose in there and get next to you, and you come back down and chop the corner, because that's really what it is. Once you go up there, and then when you come back down for the corner and somebody's there and you meet, don't blame the guy on the inside. He's wanting to race just as hard as you're wanting to race. You guys meet on the same piece of real estate.
Yep.
The door didn't have to be opened is all I'm saying.
It's certainly not that wide. And I like to take a wide approach because I think there's some speed there, but I want to do it when I'm alone, not when I'm under attack or feel that I'm under attack.
I just know there was some
around and under with a little bit.
There was the Flory getting back at Storbakken deal, which I think truly, if Dalton went back and looked at that, I don't think it was as egregious as he thought it was in the car.
Well, I think part of it is that.
That's all I'm saying.
I've only watched it once, and of course I was watching the drive shaft deal, so I'm going to go back and check on that there, just in case there's some talk.
I don't have the rest of the race on the replay. I loaded in here.
So. But,
and the hobby stock deal was the same way. It was between Grinstead and Satrin, and there was some, I know, the unhappiness between the two of them.
Let's slow down and dissect that a little bit, because the call was to send Kyler to the back. So IMCA, is there a specific rule?
No.
Okay, because it's
I quickly said
this.
Because I'm going to say IMCA.
Let's let him ask the question all the way through.
Okay, so it's what you said. You as drivers frustrated with the rubber down track, but fans, it was cool. That Dalton Flory Storbakken thing was rocking cool.
Yep.
And so, but Brenner and Kyler, so they're going down the front stretch. And so, did they touch? Kyler's coming down. Brenner is right there. So if Brenner does touch him, right, if he touches him, Kyler's swooping and dumping is because of the touching, is because of the impact, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, but then let's continue on. So Kyler is losing it, but he never, ever comes to a complete stop, because we've seen people get the yellow because they came to – Kyler never does stop. He continues on. Brenner does hit the tire. So it's just – there's a lot of viewpoints that you could Brenner hit him. Did he come down on him? Kyler never stops. Brenner does stop. So tough call.
Yeah, well,
I didn't want to be Bruce Rudlin on that.
What I thought possibly could have happened, especially because of the points battle, is they both maybe send them both. You've done that before.
Well, first off, you asked what was IMCA standings. And IMCA standings is do what you got to do. They don't tell you they don't tell you a judgment call.
No, IMCA has no rules on officiating judgment calls at a racetrack.
Yeah. So
There's no rule in the IMC rule book that Bruce has to go with this
And it's a great race. Love them both.
Yes.
So no judgment on either one of them. It's just love and racing.
Now, I'm gonna go on record. I'm not calling them a rubber track yet because they were after the halftime, and they were a little bit more on a wet track, almost a greasy track, and
even with the grease, the groove by that point of the race had moved down to the middle to bottom.
Yeah, middle. Yeah, it wasn't on the tires, but it was middle. Yeah,
it had already migrated down. The top they burned off pretty quick.
Yeah, and the left sides were being in the moisture. Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, that's a judgment call at speed. Like you say, if you look at it long enough, you can come up with more questions.
I haven't even went back and looked at it. I'm just using my naked eye.
I was watching it through the fence, and I guess I'm going to say I saw more of corner 2 stuff because I'm on the fence at the pit one there, and
I was looking through the camera lens
from on top of the roof, so we were looking at it this way. And
I think you mentioned it the last time we spoke. It's where you start to focus on it, or when you get, because it started technically almost out of 4, but right in the front stretch where.
See, this is, and I didn't pick up on it then, so I seen more of.
And I don't
middle to the exit. So
I could maybe go in and pull it up really quick. I don't want to get the show doing that. So we can talk about it, but
those particular calls, as a racer, as I've said before, sometimes you just have to swallow the lumps, but sometimes you don't get called for what you're guilty of either. So it's August.
You get a good one on this day night, get a bad one on this night. Trust me when I say
there was no deliberate rough driving that I seen of anyone there.
I seen a window open up when Kyler kind of arced the straightaway out a little bit. The window opened up, and I seen Brenner. He didn't go in there with any sort of malicious intent. Actually, they couldn't have hit. If they hit, they couldn't have hit very hard. That's
the jury question.
Right.
So yeah. Nonetheless, I still enjoy their races. Yeah. And again, we microscope them like NASCAR drivers.
And we don't mean to do that here. We're just talking about it because it's 2 incidents that happened.
Yeah.
So.
And 2 of the best that are doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, 2 of the Brenner and Kyler. You can tell when you're getting to this point of year. If you watch the post-race show from Williston, I jumped down and I grabbed the microphone. So the 3 of us were on the post-race show. And Brenner alluded to it in his Victory Lane speech that he's racing with the same people all summer long. And it's when that happens, you're in the dog days of summer.
Days of summer, yeah.
Brenner and Kyler have raced together 20, almost 30 nights now.
Yeah, probably into the 30s.
Probably into the 30-night range.
Yeah.
That's a lot of racing with one other person, so there's going to be animosity, rubbing people wrong. There's going to be that no matter what you do, because we're competitors.
Yeah.
We're competing.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. For Brenner, it was his second win, and that is exciting. He's
second win with the DBI duct tape sticker.
With the DBI duct tape deal, yeah, that's a fun deal. If you follow it on Facebook at all, my brother's getting chewed up on there pretty good, and we're all enjoying that. So DBI be Dylan Barnhart Innovation.
It tightened up the points race for that 26th championship night. I think it's 4 points separating Kyler and Brenner.
Next week, I'm going to bring up some graphics for each night so we can kind of preview that. My favorite weekend of the year.
Dun.
Yep. And I feel bad. I didn't make any graphics. I think we have 2 championship nights when we get to that point leading this weekend. So Williston wrapped up. Got home, I think, roughly about 1:32 in the morning. I seen you had the green ride pulled into Stanley truck stop there.
Yeah, we were fishing around, see if they were open, but I've come to the conclusion they are no longer open after like 10 o'clock. So,
Yeah, once you leave the truck stops of Williston, you're done.
You're
if
home.
if you need a bathroom break from there, I can tell you how to get in my office in Stanley.
Yeah, you're Boy Scouting it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So what time were you done in Williston?
I'm with Brandon. We got home about 1:30, quarter to 2.
We were done a little bit before 11, I thought. I mean,
Yeah.
10:30 or so, 10:15, 10:30. Post-race show, tearing down equipment.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking I think I was rolling into my house at 1:15, 1 or 1:15. So.
Yeah. I had to be a little bit farther behind, but it couldn't have been much. 1:30.
And you had to get home and get the Bondo out so you could.
Well, I didn't even fill in the hole. I just, I'm always looking for a little bit more cooling. So as we speak, that hole is still there. I should probably put some screening on it, but yeah.
So what if you'd have pulled into Estevan and just left it there and said, it's giving me good downforce. I got 15 more pounds of
front end weight.
Oh, dang. Yeah, well, stick the right a little better, but
So then we all rolled up to Estevan on Saturday. Max and I brought the race cars, and Jenny came along. It was the three. It was kind of a fun trip. We all jumped in the semi together. So Max and I and Jenny slept the way up, or part of the drive up. So kind of one of them family getaways. Peyton had to work, so she wasn't with us. So, but a 3-night weekend. You guys that raced all three, or could have raced all three. That's a hell of a lot more work. I only darn TV'd one, and then
raced Estevan.
Raced Estevan.
No, you did that Devil's Lake thing. I was
yeah,
thinking
you did
about
Thursday.
you.
Yeah.
I had it. Yeah, I was on
did
another
do a
mini tour.
Yeah, you did a 3-dayer.
Yeah.
You asked me to go to that Devil's Lake thing, so I was very mindful of, 4:30, and then what time did you get home that night? Devil's Lake.
I was about 1:15.
Yeah.
And
I was going to check up on you guys to see if you hopped in, because I was kind of, and then I thought, you better get ready for Williston.
So then you had to work on Friday, didn't you?
yeah, yes,
So you're up at 6?
yes.
Yuck.
No, I was up before 6.
On the
because,
road at 6.
Yeah, I actually had something I had to do Friday morning at work at a certain time. So I think I remember I only slept for about 4 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was on the road because I had to be in Stanley by 6.
And then you worked.
Ooh.
And then you had to get to Williston. So did you drive back to Minot?
No. Since Max didn't race and Jenny wasn't coming, I just ended my day. I had to take some stuff over to we have an office in Williston. Took some stuff over there, and then just ended my day in Williston, went over to the racetrack. Took a nap in the pickup. I did get a nap in the pickup once I got to the track. I laid the seat back a little bit.
You gotta.
About a half hour, 45-minute nap before the races. So
That'll go a long ways.
just a little power nap.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just run out of steam.
Because you're not done. You got Estevan the next
Then
day.
you got Estevan the next day. Yeah, then we
Exactly.
come all the way home and Estevan.
Some
the
guys
next day.
stayed and drove up the next day.
Yeah.
I, like you, had come all the way home. I got Dad with, and it's just easier to come home and go back the next day.
So going up to Estevan, I guess I don't look at weather apps early in the week enough. We talk about it sometimes on here. Hey, there's a chance of rain on whatever day, this day, that day. Mm-hmm. But I don't really pay attention to them. I didn't think there was a big chance of rain for Estevan.
I didn't either, and I do. I am pretty much on those things. I kind of want to know if I'm going into a cloudy night or a sunny night.
But when we left
for all my normal conversations. So.
when we left Minot, there was a huge black cloud up to the northwest of us.
There was.
The whole trip up there, it just seemed kind of just hung there. The whole drive, you're on 52, you're going up. And even when you get up to where 52 and 5 meet and you go through Bowbells and up there, and you're like, man, that's a massive cloud. Is that going to hit Estevan? So then you start the weather apps. And the radar was just, the clouds were turning, the rain was turning, and it was just stopping.
Yeah.
Before it got to Estevan. It was just dissipating and going away.
Like it's done so many times. So many times.
So I was thinking, hey, we're going to get this show in, but overcast skies, later start time. Ed got the moisture in it.
Yeah, it was shaping up to be a man's track. Yeah. It was. And actually, when it actually did start to rain, it actually looked like it shouldn't. I thought the sky was at its lightest when it actually started raining. So,
but you could just sit there in the pits and you almost felt rain. You could not.
It was humid.
It was humid.
Yeah. Unlike Williston, yeah.
Right, and it was right there. You could see out in the distance. You could see the clouds and the rain clouds and stuff, but it just never made it to the track.
Actually 2 layers I
Right.
witnessed there.
Yep.
2 going 2 different directions there
And
up
then
in the sky. And
during the Sport Mod feature, I think we were standing outside on the end of the trailer talking to Mike Hagan. Mike Hagan was parked next to us, and we look up at the lights, and Tyler or somebody goes, "Holy, look at the lights." You could see the rain coming down in the lights.
Yeah, and I'd felt it a little bit, and I just because of the kind of, it just hadn't rained yet, and we'd had a couple of sprinkles. I thought, no big deal, but I'd gotten pulled over by there, and Mike was already there.
Yeah.
And I could see that he was looking up into the lights. The rain was coming down pretty good, and before anything was even called to go back to your pits, he had already looped it back. So.
Yeah, then we commenced the loading operation, and it wasn't. It never rained hard, so you didn't have to worry about that.
It never rained hard, but it rained too hard to race.
Yeah.
As in water on your tear-offs. You couldn't roll the track in.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they would have had to be there till after midnight or so, because when you looked at the radar, the rain was just rolling in.
It was getting worse.
Yeah, getting worse.
There was just no hole, so.
They made the right call.
Excuse me.
I had a lot of fun over there. It's one of them deals. My first year of not running a racetrack, not running Nodak, I do things, and people, they know how to take me when I'm around my certain group. But I was over there, and I was just giving grief, like joking about showing up, driving all the way up here, racing a heat race, and not getting paid, because without running a feature, you don't get paid. And I was just like, these darn racetracks, they don't pay us for just showing up and putting a heat race show on. I was calling myself the heat race hero because I won the heat race. So I was calling myself, I'm a damn heat race hero, you know. But it was fun. It was
your heat race. We joked. Well, I did anyway. I was joking that it looked like you jumped the gun, but you jumped it coming out of 2. You just had such an amazing launch out of 2.
Guys, I can't tell you how nervous I was going into that heat race. I pride myself.
Brakes at work.
Adam came over and gave me grief right away after the heat race because he knows me, and I pride myself for my dry slick racetrack racing ability. I really think that when the track goes slicks off, I have a good ability of driving on tracks like that. Heavier, more traction racetracks, I have a tendency of not driving aggressive enough. It's just my racing tendencies, me as a human or me as a racer. Yeah. So I went out there nervous. I'm like, these guys are going to make me look like fools.
Because kind of tacked up and ready to rock.
These younger kids, they know how to hammer down.
Pitcher in there.
Yeah, so when they throw the green, I kind of laid back for Max just a little bit. Max started ahead of me. I hate junk. The reason why I'm not so aggressive, I hate junk in race cars on lap 1. I hate junk in race cars at all.
Yeah.
So in my mind, just get out of this heat race without a tore-up race car.
Yeah.
Not saying anybody was going to.
A qualified position gets you in the feature.
Yep. That's all I was worried about.
No need to over-risk it.
When they started, Max, tried to shoot the gap in the middle, had to get on the brakes. There was a little bit of contact between the inside car, the outside car, and they kind of all washed down the racetrack. I just turned to the right down the straightaway. And I never lifted again until turn 3.
I was just going to say, now, with all the science we just laid down, I saw what you saw, Craig. I was in the stands. I'm like,
you're
wow.
You're not supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
To get that much distance, all the parity they want. You had a half a lap on them.
Yeah, well, and a fourth of that half a lap was the first half a lap. They all kind of cuddled the middle, maybe kind of low, and you just put it up there in what I call the fun zone, and hammer down her. And
I had full intentions.
Big lead.
I told you guys beforehand. I had full intentions of sticking my left rear. There was a cleaned off part of tackiness. The whole track had grip, and there was enough moisture. There was a cleaned off part, and then there was a darker part at the top that
I almost thought it was too fluffy and deep.
Right.
Actually, I think we're missing the point here. If they didn't notice, you didn't start on the front. Where were you? You were
6th, outside row 3.
You were well back.
Yeah.
So the rules that you can't win it on the first lap have been debunked. Everyone go for it hard on the first lap.
Well, there's that.
If you're gonna go for it hard on the first lap and try to win it, do it on the outside.
Yeah.
So if you drive it in too hard over your head and you go off the top, you're not taking anybody with you. If you try to win it on the first lap going to the bottom, Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Do it on the outside.
The fear is somebody coming pushing up on you.
Well, that's what it was a learning moment for Max and I, or whatever. Me being out there on the track, I could talk Max. Max was a little bit frustrated afterwards because he wanted to know, where did you come from? How did you do that?
Let's stop there. I mean, Max always gets a piece of us here, so
yeah.
So like Craig, I'm watching from the pit stand there, and I see you going by him, as you're bending it into one, and I'm driving for Max, and I'm doing this. He's not digging this. He's not digging this. Dad's laying down the program here. So, and of course you continue to go, and so he jumps out there. He wants a piece of this. He wants to get in your shadow, but you took off too fast.
And I'm sure, he just had his foot just down hard, and you're just still pulling away.
He expected a little metal changing there.
Yeah.
Little scrapes and bumps and bruises here. So you
cleared
ghosted
him. Got him out there. Heat race hero. Make the sticker.
Well, you can't say heat race hero because you won the feature prior there too.
Yeah.
So if I would have been you, I would have been very, very disappointed to see that rain, because I would be like, let's get nuts. I'm getting this car figured out. I got brakes tonight.
I want to race. I mean, the biggest thing is I'm there to race. I want to race. Yeah. Disappointed. I'd rather them do what they did, and now they're doing the great thing of making it up.
Yeah, they're making it up.
Making it up this Saturday, so we get double features. I would rather them do what they did than try to put us out on a racetrack that maybe wasn't ready or wasn't
too greasy,
or try to push the show in and get it all in and maybe not have racetracks.
Driving on a slippery racetrack to junk cars, as you said earlier, that would not have been productive at all. So.
As excited as I was, well, the best part is you don't even, when you're on a heavy track like that, you don't use any tires. So we were literally making 0 adjustments to the race cars between heat and feature. So
it was the opposite on tires as the night before. So, and not dissing anybody, but when it's wet, the tires, they look good still. They happy in the wet. So, yeah. Which I call affordable.
Yeah.
So well, then why do some people say that they like a dry, slick track then?
Well, that might take all winter.
That might take.
Yeah, that's philosophies for sure.
And that's where I told you when I was leading into this. When you put me on a heavier track, I just don't have that aggressive nature about me to fling it in the corner and just mat the race car. I'm always
and wheelie off.
I always have that in my mind. I'm modulating, whatever, even on a heavy track. Even when I was out in the lead, Max asked me, he goes, were you wide open all the way? I was. I never lifted once. And I go, I did. I was lifting just about every corner. I just burped the throttle going in and then modulate going through the center to kind of keep the wheels tires underneath you, the front end, whatever, tight or whatever. But that's where I said, if you put me on my driving style, I think it's the way I grew up racing. Because 98, 99, 2000, a lot of them tracks that we raced on back then were a lot of dry tracks.
Yeah.
Drier tracks.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them dry tracks. Yeah. They were just a little bit drier. The farming hadn't come in yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably fair, yeah. And it just was, you just let the track go through its natural courses through the night.
Yep.
You prepped at halftime, and what was left of that is what you got the rest of the night.
And I learned
no spot prepping.
Nathan Burke, Dick Schultz. I raced with them guys in the Wissota streets when I first came. Jeff Hooker. So learning from them, seeing them, and how they raced, well, that's how my driving style came. Oh. And I impressed myself. I was nervous. I ain't joking with you guys. I told Adam right afterwards, I go, I don't get nervous before races. I thought these young guys were going to make me look like a fool because I just thought they were going to layer to the floor.
Well, and from the stands, it looked like that's what should have happened, just what you're describing. But wait, there's more. So they kind of pulled down, and you kind of just saw the hole and kind of just rolled it through there.
We're going to call it out-experiencing them a little bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And not that you drive often. We've been through that, and you're certainly not retired. But to refer to the proverbial bicycle, once you learn how to ride a bicycle, you know how to ride a bicycle. Now, not to say that you won't get sharper driving here currently, and you will. But there's just some things you talked about modulating and stuff like that. Not putting yourself in holes that look like they could bite you going up the middle, things like that. So
it's weird because
that forms your presentation.
But you chose that high line because you could see that there was something there. It wasn't a guess.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the track. I read the track before
on the pace lap.
On the pace lap.
If you would have been in Williston the night before and tried that, you would have failed miserably.
And I would have read the track properly and probably not tried it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess
you got a good point.
Because what Brandon saw is he saw that fluffy cushion in Estevan that didn't exist in Williston because it was just prepped differently. But with Estevan's overcast and hot laps and stuff like that, that all kind of started to build up a little bit of a cushion up there. And I don't think you even seen it coming, but as the rows in front of you kind of went middle low, all of a sudden you're like, I'm just going to go up and drive. Yeah. I don't think you even knew you were going to come out leading.
Nope.
You were just prepared to be somewhere else.
Yep.
And it just happened that you rode the curb. I'm going to call it the curb because it was pretty good. And you curbed it, and you had so much momentum coming out of 2 that you just bulleted into 3.
I wanted an exit strategy. This is what I told Max. When you're doing something like this and you're starting in the pack, he always seems to put his nose in between cars. That front row splits, he puts his nose in between there. Well, I was faster than him. You don't have anywhere to go once you get there because when they squeeze you back to the corner,
you got no way out.
You have no way out. I went up to the top for an exit strategy just in case.
It was somewhere else.
Somewhere else. No cars were up there. But if things did go haywire on the bottom.
After the front straightaway, you have nothing out there to.
Right.
You can jump off.
I can exit stage right and save a race car.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah. And that just comes with experience and time. And then it just becomes part of who you are.
Yep.
You just subconsciously do things.
I love racing up there.
Sometimes I'm in the lineup and you're in there for a long time, and I think a lot of guys, you're like, okay, do this, do this, do that, and I say to myself, you've been doing this long enough, and it hasn't been bad, so I'm just going to rely on, I don't know, nature taking its course with me.
Do you ever,
so,
are you one that sits in staging? I do this all the time in staging. When I'm sitting there waiting to go on the track, and even when I get on the track, I'm like playing the first lap through my mind.
Yeah.
What am I going to do on this first lap?
Is there, if I'm on the outside like you, is there going to be anything out there?
Yep.
Do I gotta get the first opportunity I can to get low if I think it's low, or can I at least not lose anything for a little bit? Kind of see where everybody's at going into 3.
Do you watch the classes before you to anticipate where you want to go?
I try to get back up and at least watch what the mods are doing a little bit just to see how they're moving around. But I try to catch the other heat if I can get back to my trailer fast enough to run up and see if I'm in the first heat, if I can catch the end of the second heat, just to see how the other guys are doing it. I do just and this is where I think Travis is great. I just always trying to get some kind of mental game.
Yep.
To help my presentation. But watching other classes, watching your other heat, or if there's multiple heats, try to catch those heats.
Noticing Stephen Pfeiffer again, he seems like he is king up there right now. I mean, he is hot last in his heat. Tyson's in that heat. Aaron's in that heat.
Yeah.
Geisel's in that heat. And then there was a young fella, I think it was leading the thing, who was running pretty hard too. And he picks it off right at the checkers to win it.
At the line. Last corner. Wow.
See,
what a race.
I was getting in the car, so I didn't get to see that one.
I did get to, I did get to see that. And Steven was manhandling that thing because it was tight. In other words, the front tires were turned, but it wasn't turning as much as they were turned. And I mean, all the way in, I mean, as we referred earlier in the year, I mean, you are pulling that thing to the left hard. And Steven is young and strong, as I've said many times, and he was on display. Now, he knows that all he needed to do was qualify, too, but he's having such a good time, he actually went.
I don't know if that's in his DNA.
It might not be, but he nonetheless, he went after that sticker, and he got her. It was right at the end.
And just like your
might have been the race of the night.
You're not supposed to be able to do that. You're not supposed to be able to go from the back to the front and get it done, and it just kept coming there.
My 2 cents. I like wet tracks.
Yeah,
and I cannot lie.
When you feel good and confident in a car, you feel good and confident in a car. That's where Steven's at now. And just my comfortability from 2 weeks ago or whenever I raced it at Dirt Wars and I picked up that win, when I got in the car on Sunday, number one, the brakes were fixed. Number two, we adjusted the damn steering wheel. We got that thing away from me. When I raced that first night, I couldn't cross. It was right here. I could not cross my hands.
You don't want them out here, but you don't want it here either.
Right.
You got to be where you can hold on.
We adjusted it. It's right where it needs to be now. I have full motion with my arms, my hands. If I have to get up on the wheel and adjust.
You got to get hand over hand because of no quickener. That's important when we talk hobbies. Side note, I was at Adams today and catching up. I wanted to make sure he knew that there was going to be that makeup feature and all that there. And before we were done, he made the comment, we need to find out what Brandon has in that car, spring-wise. So, and I assured him we do. I got around pretty good.
I know what's in it now. I took everything out last week. I know exactly what's in it.
It might be valuable. So
I don't think you'd want it. No, you probably would.
It looked good. You're driving it nice too, but it looked good. So
I wanted to race one more feature.
Adam liked it, and I liked it too.
I'm bringing 2 springs with me this Saturday, and we're going to run that first feature.
Front ones or back ones?
Rear ones.
Just checking.
There's still one thing I don't like about it. It's still free on entry. And I'm not a fan of free on entry. So I'm going to run the feature, and if I want to make one adjustment to a different either right rear spring or left rear spring, I haven't figured out which one I want to go up or down with yet.
If I could give you any dad advice, don't work on it till you break it because it's not broken.
It's pretty good. In my car, I'll put front brake in it. So, you can't. I can.
Levi Runge.
Yep.
Williston. He pulls a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
And then he wins in Estevan. And I didn't go back and look at the Tougher Than Dirt tour on how he did do during your tour, but he is making a name for himself in those sport mods. And he is impressive.
Here's what's impressive about him.
Yeah.
He was the king dog in the sport mods during COVID up there. He was able to win at will, basically. Kind of the guy to beat up there. When they opened up the border this spring, the Americans flooded up there. I'll call it flooded because there's a lot of us that go up there now.
I think it's 26 first night. So
flooded up there, and Levi was struggling. You could see, not necessarily his pace maybe didn't slow down. The level of competition just went boom. Here it is. Him and his dad, they went to work. Tougher Than Dirt tour, they showed up. He was super competitive in Dickinson, super competitive in Williston on the Tougher Than Dirt tour and Estevan. And now he's right there with them guys. Yeah. He's
full strong. Yeah, I agree.
Strong.
Yeah, that's good recognition there. That's
super.
They're working at it. And when you work at things, it doesn't always go better. You want it to always go better, but so to compare from Tougher Than Dirt till now, they have gotten better, and good for them. They work hard at it.
Yeah, good catch on that.
Doc raced when he's raced in his lifetime, and that's valuable conversation in the shop.
Yep.
Nice job, guys.
So we finished up Estevan, and now we get up Sunday morning.
Race home
in the rain. In and out of rain the whole way home. Looking at the forecast, knowing the forecast is not looking super good for Sunday.
It's showing rain in the morning.
Yep. Showing rain in the morning, but then you get up in the morning.
So as hopeless romantics go, well, it can rain from like 6 to 9. That's morning, ain't it?
You're thinking let it rain until 3 o'clock and I'm going to have a real grippy track.
Yeah,
maybe 4.
Yeah. No, it rained.
Too much rain.
And it was wet.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
It was a lot of rain. Too much rain to try to do much. They waited till 1 o'clock, I think, to cancel. In the grand scheme of things, they maybe could have pulled it a little earlier than that.
I pulled up the radar, and it was pinwheeling around, and it was everywhere.
They waited so long that it gave me hope. I'm like, they're not canceling this thing.
Yeah, I had everything ready. I wasn't in the trailer. I had unloaded, but I was. They said the sun was going to shine at 4, and sure enough, if you cancel, the sun's going to shine at 4. But it was wet.
Could you have got anything out of it?
Out of the race?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you, because
would have went forward. God, I would imagine it was quite muddy.
Here's the problem. The racetrack
It never got
itself,
real warm
the
either.
racetrack itself was not the issue. You could have went out there, worked the actual racetrack itself into something raceable. I feel you could have.
I didn't know if it was open or not. So.
No, it was closed.
Sealed?
It was sealed up. So,
Okay.
now everywhere else around the track, getting from the outside pit to the track, off the track back to the pit area, the infield where all the fire and rescue and the wreckers and stuff are, none of that may have been usable.
Yeah.
So now you're having to adjust and do things. You're putting fire and rescue in a different spot than you normally do, or you're putting the wreckers in a different spot. You're changing things to try to race. Then what happens if it wasn't sealed as tight as you thought it was, and then you go out and you create a Baja situation.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're putting 3 or 4 or 5 nights of work back into the racetrack to try to
There's nothing
bring it
tougher
back.
than to be a part of that group that has to call the
Yep.
races. Now, once the night goes by, the answers are clear.
Yep. Yep.
Because for the record, and
Yep.
it ended up raining again at about 8 o'clock. That had been right in the middle of everything. Now, again, as I touched on this earlier in the year, everybody's got a couple $100 in diesel that's coming from out of
Yep.
town, and
the rain that came later in the day,
yeah,
in the evening.
The sun shined at 4, but it rained at 8 again.
So I don't know what time it rained at your house. I would happen to be, somebody called me, and I heard the rain in the background. And I said, "Where are you at?" "Well, I'm down by the fairgrounds." "And it's raining?" "Yeah. Sunny at my house."
I'm in the same vein. I'm in the fairgrounds
Yep.
vein at my house.
Sunny
and,
at my house. We didn't my house, which is
Yeah.
southeast of town,
Yeah.
we barely got a sprinkle. It didn't even get the ground wet.
Wow.
So Jenny and I jumped in the vehicle.
You
and
didn't believe it.
We didn't believe it. We drove down to the fairgrounds, and it was downpouring.
Yeah.
The whole pit area.
That rain itself would have canceled an otherwise perfect day.
Yeah.
you
If
were
you
rolling
would've had-
that one in.
Yeah, if you would have had a
So-
dry day all day without any rain,
Yeah.
that rain you would have got there was over.
Yeah.
It was canceling.
That was
the
a
race.
stopper right there. It was at my house anyway, so
Yeah.
apparently it was at the track.
It's interesting you bring that up. Back in the day when we were in the pits of the track,
The infield.
no one does that anymore. Mandan does it, but they have additional
Mm-hmm.
pits. Not many tracks do that.
I threw that idea. We have a situation over Motor Magic, and I don't know how. I'm gonna assist the racetrack. Smalls is leaving. Brock's is leaving. There's quite a few people going to Boone, so they're going to be vacant. Rick Nelson has agreed to come back or talk to Smalls, and I'm going to be
The dirt doctor.
the dirt doctor. I'm just going to be around to help him do whatever he needs. I told Smalls I'll help take care of the racetrack, the racing surface itself, and Bruce will run the show. There's no issues there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just but I kind of said, we got a problem. I need to be with Max too, because without Brock being there, Corey's going to Boone with Brock, so I can't put Corey on it. I said, is anybody going to be upset if I bring Max's car down in the infield? Max, the truck, trailer, car, him just pit down there with me.
That's home base.
Just so I can be there to assist him.
You can do both.
I can do both.
Yeah.
And he didn't think there would be a problem with it. And then we got in this discussion, and I probably shouldn't be telling the whole world this.
I'm interested.
We got into the discussion. Why don't we open it up to whoever wants to park down there and come park down
Let's
there?
go a little further. How do you get to pit on the stage?
If the fair if the fair catches a race car on the stage, we're in trouble.
We got to save that for the dome.
So it was a conversation that was had.
How many fit down there? 25?
We think you could get all of that, but I mean, even if let's say you put 10 down there and you back them, or you put them to where the back of the trailer where the car sits is facing the grandstands.
I like it.
On the you
Yeah.
do it on the north end. And the rule,
We used to take surveys, and,
Yep.
and the grandstand people wanted the infield pitting because
Well,
they could
when-
watch people
when-
working on their
when
cars.
you were doing your motor deal, I watched that. Everyone watched that.
Golly,
yeah,
of all the things I've done.
of all the things. So
What were you saying? You were talking to Nick about swapping a motor 20 minutes, you said?
no, I think 35 minutes is our
Yeah.
we pulled it in the shop and We did it in the shop, though. We banged it out in just over a half hour. We had it out and back in or whatever and running. But I know it's been done faster probably in various places.
Good idea. Getting in those pits again.
Well, it's kind of an accidental idea. It was a need situation that Smalls may not have even brought it to the board yet, so we don't even have approval. So if I get you in trouble, Smalls, or if you are the Nodak Speedway board, please do not hold it against him. It's just a conversation that I had with him.
It's a good idea.
That accidentally, and I'm not trying to look for any sort of advantage for Max in any way.
Oh, yeah. No.
I don't know. I'm going to tell a story. One other infield story. This might have gained legs over the years, but I think it was a mod tour, doubleheader, whatever. And one driver maybe had a little fun the night before, slept in the trailer, opened up the, maybe just
he was in his birthday suit?
Bloomers, I think.
Bloomers.
And the crowd's full, and I think the announcer made reference to it. Good morning, how you doing? Door closes again. That's drama. That's cool. You know that story. I know you do.
Well, I'm not there yet, but I need a couple more hints. There's been a few of those stories for sure.
If you're finally getting up in your bloomers and the crowd is already there, the announcers are already there.
That's impressive.
You had a good night before.
Ooh, yeah.
Wow. And like I said, there may be some embellishment, but it's still a good story.
If it was in the heat of the day, if it was in the heat of the summer, them trailers get hot.
Yeah.
And if you were able to, well, obviously he probably sweat his alcohol or whatever he had in him out of him.
Ooh, yeah. Well, I know a few people have taken naps in the lineup because they hadn't been to bed yet. So
that's one of my patented moves. Lay the head back. Close the eyes.
I'll wake up when the noise stops.
Envision the first lap.
Oh, I fell asleep.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah. That pitting in the infield, that's important to the.
If they say no, I will come up with a plan, and we will have Max outside with everybody else. I'm not trying to ask for any sort of special favors by any means. I want to help Nodak. I want to help put the races on. I want to assist Rick Nelson in running a water truck, a tractor.
No, you got to be in the infield. You're going to do the track. And you're Max's pit man. So I like it. Handful of cars could go in there. That would be cool.
Bring the big green machine down there with them.
Yep.
The old school standing on the trailer and watching the races.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, we tried different things back in those days, but at one time we were pulled up to the deal, and the trailer door was actually the other way, and that's when the crowd said, no. You got to turn around.
Well, that's what we said. If this happens, the back of the trailers are to the grandstand.
Yep. Yeah. Standing on the roof.
Yep.
Huh. Yes.
Now, upcoming schedule. I think we're about to that point, aren't we? Should we roll the old Justin Bieber, Jeff Bieber, Texas Red?
Let's check out those crops.
Such a quick commercial, 20 seconds.
The corn's still green.
Yeah, they're about ready to harvest. They got to be close.
The wheat looks white, though. It's looking.
Yeah, I think the grains are all coming in now. So
upcoming schedule this weekend. Friday, I don't know of anywhere other than Mandan that races Friday.
Well, that's all I.
Dakota
all I
Speedway
know
on Friday.
Yeah, regular night.
Regular points night. They're getting down to the wire. I think 3 points nights left or 2 points nights left. So
yeah, I would say 2.
I
would say 2. Yeah.
I'm sure Red River Valley Speedway in Fargo. I'm sure races on Friday. It's a little far away for us to talk about it.
He's probably running. Yeah, Red River. Yeah, both of them probably.
Saturday, we'll roll into Saturday. Now, this weekend is only Estevan on Saturday for us.
Yeah.
And then Botno is championship night.
So double features up in Estevan.
Yes.
So are they starting early? Because that's going to get late.
Yes. They are starting an hour early, 6 o'clock their time, 7 o'clock our time. The Sport Mod feature had gotten in, as we touched on, And so they will, the way I'm understanding, they're going to run the 5 feet or the 4 features that are left.
Yep.
Slings, stocks, mods, hobbies. And then I'm guessing we're going to start the day.
Then we're going to start heat races.
We're going to start Saturday.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So how does that change your preparation? Are you bringing Boku tires,
Well,
extra fuel? You're loading
yeah,
down.
and I'll just share a little bit of Adam and I talking and stuff like that. I mean, we're thinking if it's going to go that way. We don't know for sure if that's how it's going to go, but if it goes that way, kind of like hot laps is going to be your feature track.
Yep.
I don't think that's going to tear up tires, but your mindset is different because now you're racing a feature in the daylight right off the bat. The point value, Adam's in a points race there. I am not. So I guess kind of as friends, we're kind of conversing that, and also we want to make sure, I guess I want to make sure that he has a car all night long.
Yep.
If it ain't blue, it might be green. so I mean, there's a little bit of that talk too, so just doing a little team racing there. The dynamic team.
Yep.
There's some thinking.
If he likes the 5 car so much, we can put Hoosiers on it.
Yeah. Well, you got the wrong motor in it, but yeah. He does like the 5 car a lot. That might be a fight. So, he might be in the green car. I'll be in the 5 car. But yeah. So.
I'm sure there's a power plant in the boys' stable that could go in that 5 car.
Well, not at the track.
Not at the track.
Easily. So there is a little bit of thinking going on there. But yes, it will be a 2 feature deal. So, I mean, good on Estevan to follow up with the features. It would have been plenty easy to just write that off and go forward. So
as for us, I'm hoping that we don't go through a whole bunch of tires, and I can go as simple as run the first feature with the tires that I just had on from Saturday, that I was prepared to run the feature with, and then run the heat race on them same tires.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the second feature, just flip the rear tires, put the left rear on the right rear, the right rear on the left rear. So that way if they have any feather to them, we'll feather them the other way, and I'll get the whole night out of the same 4 tires.
You're not afraid to throw your stuff out there. There's what I'm doing.
Throw in 5 gallons.
Yep,
of
5
gas,
gallons of gas.
And,
yep.
yeah.
Now I may make a spring change after that first feature. I want to see what the track kind of does, see what it feels like. I have some feelings I like to feel, and I can adjust what I do to compensate. But if I can get it just a little bit closer to what I like, I think I'll be.
You'd like to snug it up a little, it sounds like.
Yes,
so,
a little bit.
Tighten it up a little.
But
yeah.
Yeah, I throw everything. I'm not afraid to. I'm not. You will never get. What you won't get is maybe some of the brand of tires that I'm running. I'm not going to spread that out to the world, but I mean, walk over to my damn car on Saturday and look at it. So
you could have you will have 2 completely different tracks in both those different features.
It's certainly the potential of. I mean, it's certainly going to be 2 different skies. One will be light and one will be dark.
I'm forecasting in my mind of, as you said, hot lap track for your guys' feature. I'm thinking of what we got.
You might be a heat race track.
Heat race track in our feature.
In your feature. And
then when I'm thinking of the end feature of the night, the hobby stock feature, that second one is going to be the last one of the night. I'm thinking this smoothed off, glazed off, slick thing. That's just like what we
potential
had.
Of.
That's what
at
we had.
Williston.
Yeah. Yep.
Go in that direction.
That's how my mind progresses. That heat race in the middle, finish in the top 4, whatever the track is. I'm guessing they're gonna have to work it at some point in time.
Yeah. They're not gonna leave it alone.
No.
No, they won't leave it alone. Now, the weirdo that I am. Now they start at 7:00 their time normally.
Yep.
Okay. Well, so I like to see when the sun sets.
Yeah.
And it sets. The last time we were there was at 8:16. So that's probably going to be a good 15 minutes shorter now. So we are only going to have, on a normal show, we're down to only 1 hour of daylight. Oh, I love it. I love
That's
it.
why we like
So this will be an unusual weekend because we're going to have 2 hours of daylight.
Yeah.
On a night and a half show. So, yeah. The long, hot days of summer are fading fast, even if it's hot out.
What
because it's not. Even in Minot, we are now under 9 o'clock sunsets. I'm looking through the shades now. So
you're about right on. I got an 8 p.m. sunset time.
Yeah.
I just Googled it really fast on the Google device.
The weirdo that I am. I'm on this.
So yes, he looks at his weather app.
Yeah, because as you say, we close our eyes and imagine how it's all going. That's how I imagine it. So I want to know where the sun's at. Preferably not shining on the surface.
That's huge and crazy to think about up there, isn't it? That sun setting, because tougher than Dirt Tour, the middle of June there.
Just the opposite.
That was 9 o'clock sunset.
Yeah. Yeah, we have moved an hour in the evening already.
Right.
Of an hour right now. And it's 3 minutes and I think 12 seconds a day. So it's a minute and a half.
During your Tougher Than Dirt Tour, I would dare to say that there were probably tracks that, well, we know Botno didn't use their lights. Probably none of the tracks used. Nodak didn't use their lights.
Yeah, because of driver intros, I think we ended up getting the last feature was under the lights. But I know Dickinson, they didn't have to use lights. Underwood, I think you guys got the lights turned on there.
We turned them on.
But I don't think they were 100% necessary.
Yeah, right.
Williston probably the same way. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the days are longer.
Yeah.
It's just
and again, we're on the western side of the time zone with daylight savings time, so it's almost a 2-hour click.
Yep.
So we're just going to reflect from a long time ago. Don Hofeld had sponsored a late model race here in 1987. Craig and I were there.
Yes.
So and Billy,
were you born yet?
Billy Moyer.
Oh yeah.
Billy Moyer had made the reference. Does the sun ever go down here? Well, not around the end of June. It don't. At least not in normal race car time slots.
So what's nuts? They're losing 15 minutes a week because
you
rolled a championship night and it's 7:47.
We're almost got heat races in the sunset.
He's licking his chops.
Motor Magic 777. Work with me here. It'll be good for the track crew guy that you're going to be.
Once Smalls leave, we'll do whatever we want.
Yeah, 8:30. Line them up, boys. I raced one time at 3 o'clock in the morning in Florida. I know that sounds ridiculous. It had rained, and we're gonna stay here till we race. It was a 50-lapper. It was awesome. It never got dusty. The humidity of Florida was incredible. And I mean, and they had lighting from, it looked like daylight. It was so cool. I know it's not practical, but it was an event in my life that was cool. Racing in the dark works.
One of my first
dry, wet, or otherwise.
One of my first years ever going to the Super Nationals in Boone. It rained, and we ran a B main. I had to stay awake. We ran a heat race at 4 in the afternoon. And the B main took the track at 6 in the morning. And I'm just like, oh.
Sun's coming up.
Yeah. Earliest or latest.
Where am I?
that I've ever raced. Sleeping on the trunk of the car. So we got.
That's how guys in their trailer open it up and they're in their bloomers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Devil's Lake Speedway has the Golden Hammer. Late models.
Yeah.
I think it's
Dilly Bar is on tour. So he says he's racing. I'm not recalling all the stops, but he's like on a 3-dayer here.
So I think there's a Schill Memorial.
Yes.
In Fargo.
I believe it is in Fargo, not Grand Forks. Fargo.
Howie Schill Memorial.
Howie Schill Memorial. He's going there, Forks, and
Devil's Lake.
And Devil's Lake. Yeah. I don't know which day is who.
And that's a monster payday. I want to say 5.
Well, the Golden Hammer is $5,000 to win.
Yes. Right, the Golden Hammer. Right.
That's the Devil's Lake one. That will be
What day is Devil's Lake?
Saturday.
Saturday. Okay.
So it must be Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yes.
So $5,000 to win on a Saturday night. That could be my debut. That might happen.
Hey, there was 2 of us, and now there's 1.
Steak. Cold one.
Yeah.
$5,000 to win late models. That sounds like a pretty good Saturday night.
I think
well lit.
Brad Stempleton will he likes late models over there. I could probably jump in with him.
I was in the store last night. God, did he tell me he was going to that? I think he is. Yeah.
There's your ride.
Yeah.
He's actually becoming my partner in McLean County, and he's a fun dude to watch races with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He knows his stuff.
He's a
been around
historian.
this.
He's a historian.
Oh, I get the dirt. I get all these texts, and
Yeah. Yeah, I was catching up with him last night, so.
So Botno Championship night is this Saturday. I should have pulled the points up
Yeah.
and had them.
I was going to say, we got any, anything to,
I will pull it up right now on my
got
race
any
pass.
twisters going off here, so.
I know last Saturday night, just touch on them a little bit. I looked up car counts. They had 14 hobby stocks up there in Botno.
Nice.
Which is a really good number.
Good for them.
The other classes, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think they only had 2 sport mods, 1 enduro car, they call it, or bomber.
I hope that July 4th weekend worked for them. I hope that's something that they want to still.
If the points are correct on my race pass, which I hope they are, where Caden Rumfo is the leader, 2 points back is Ethan Beckadall, 5 points back, Jeff Mock. So a good battle there.
Got some racing there. Mm-hmm.
So sport mods is Gabe Deshaw. There's really nothing we can do there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
And
that's
the 2 classes
those
they
are the
have.
2
Yep.
classes they got. It shows compacts. I don't know. There's only 2 cars showing up on here. I don't know what that means. So maybe this hasn't been updated. It doesn't tell me as of when. So well, it says as of 8/12. So obviously it's updated.
Yeah. Yeah, that would include the past weekend then.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So some good battles there.
Again, hard to believe, but it seemed like we're just talking about snow in the forecast going to Estevan's opener, and we are 2 weeks from Motor Magic.
Yep.
Wow. You touched on some stuff there, and it's just what we do. But unfortunately, I'm the selfish guy that I am, I want to see our local guys go to Boone and do great. The problem is they're not here to do great. So, and I went to Boone many times, and I never missed Motor Magic when I went. But I get it. It's different now.
You know, last year I was crying in my soup over that too, about guys going to Boone. Man, last year's Motor Magic, I think, was one of the finest ones we've ever had. It was tremendous.
Yeah.
Not to say that I don't want anybody to go, but
and I'm glad it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because holdouts like me will wait right till the last minute to go to Boone when I did, and I'm not going this year. But I wasn't scared to drive all night to get there Monday. Modifieds at the time that I was going raced Wednesday, so I had plenty of time. But they have preludes now, and they have different stuff, so it's changed.
Stuff,
but
they go all the way back to Friday now. Brock and I were just talking about it last night. They race. There's a Marshalltown deal that has big money to win Friday.
Well, and I think Adam and Brock are going together or traveling together or something like that.
They're traveling together. Not in the same trailer, but they're traveling.
Because Adam's sharing, he's leaving Thursday also. So
yeah, they're both leaving Thursday night, and as of right now, Mad Mike Hagan stock car is going in the trailer with Brock.
Mike wasn't sure yet.
What the scenario is, it's gotten so busy and so packed down there that pit stalls are a premium. So Brock Beater showing up with just a sport mod, he would have to back out of his spot and leave after Tuesday.
I see. I know where you're going already. So you're going to flip the cars.
So with having a with having a stock car he gets to stay parked there the whole week. So he's been kind of recruiting a little bit here and there, trying to get the stock car to
I've
roll
been
down.
there, and once you're parked, it's best that you don't unpark. You don't move, right? You are on your feet for the rest of the week, and that's okay.
Yep.
But that is hard to get in and out of, and that's the way it is.
I'm jealous because this is reminding me of the group of drivers that are all going and the sheer numbers. There's a lot of drivers going, and I think you're going to see a hit. I was hoping to bring the 5 car to Motor Magic and being able to race, but I'd much rather help put on the racetrack, or, the races or whatever, help put the show on.
That's a sacrifice you make. I appreciate it.
Make sure it happens. But it's kind of 2015-esque. I think 2015 we had 36 North Dakota-based, I call North Dakota Estevan, North Dakota-based drivers there in 2015.
Wow.
And the numbers that I'm seeing of the guys on Facebook going is, I could see us getting close to that again.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So let's just say Brock Beater. Motor Magic champion wins both nights, right? If he stays here.
Wins all 3 nights? Or
Yes. What does he have to do down in Boone to trump that? What's the draw to go down there? What are you going down there to get? The experience? What's going down there? Why do you want to go?
I always like your perspective and your questions. Whenever I went, the big deal was you want to try to make the A main. And making the A main was
financially, it's stupid to go to Boone.
Yeah.
Stay here, race because Sport Mods are racing for $700 to win each night. So you're looking at, if you win all 3 nights, $2,100. Even if you finish top 5 all 3 nights, you're going to easily take home $1,000.
Yeah.
You know,
that's hard to not do.
Why? Yeah, and
you don't have all the layout of cash.
Correct. Going to Boone is more about the experience, getting away, just the time of being down there, the camaraderie of you've gained friends. You've gained friends down there in the Iowa area.
Lifetime friends.
Friends.
If you're new to the sport, there's so much vending going on. Race cars, brands, people that sell parts. You get on a name basis, so when you're ordering in the wintertime, you're talking to somebody that you met there at the table. That's cool. I mean, you kind of feel like you're part of the cloth of it, if you will. So
it's just you go to say you were a part of it. If you by chance get in the big dance, Brock, he's made it in a hobby stock. Now going into sport mod, if he puts it in the show in a sport mod, well, that makes him 2 classes. It's just a pride thing, just a simple pride thing.
Yeah, I'll go on record. Everybody should experience Boone at least once.
Yes, I
think I experienced it 13 times, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm equally as wore out of it too. But Mike has put it on the front row. Hagen has put it on the front row one year of the big dance. And he was running, I think he was running 3rd when he cut a tire. But so we've had drivers do good there, and that's fun to watch and cheer.
Early 2000s, Monty Lundy was one of the first ones to kind of have some success, top 5 in the big dance.
Yeah.
So what is Travis's plan? Is he going to Boone?
No, he's staying here. Oh. I say that assertively. I mean, I talked to Travis a couple times already this week. Sounded like he was staying here. Pretty sure he's staying here.
Yeah.
It's different for...
We got to get Boone to have that same type of working with tracks and not step on our motor magic. Move off, man. Move.
Yeah.
I think if you were to ask Boone, they would say, quit stepping on our Boone.
I know.
Right.
You very easily, and the parking thing is very, very important nowadays. I've raced at 4 Super Nationals. Mm-hmm. We used to show up there Sunday morning. We would miss Motor Magic. We'd leave Saturday morning, usually drive a better part of the distance, sleep somewhere, and then roll in Sunday morning. And there was always plenty of room to park. I heard horror stories last year. Guys rolling in Saturday afternoon, there was nowhere to park.
Again, the guys that are going seem to have that same concern. So,
like Brock and them guys leaving Thursday night, they're going to try to get there Friday morning because I believe it opens up at 8 a.m. Friday morning to get in there and try to get a pit spot.
It'll be 200 trailers long.
Yes.
Starting Tuesday. Oh boy! I'm so glad I went when I went. I'm satisfied. So.
If it's something you haven't experienced, it'd be worth taking a week off work, going down there. Yeah. Pick a year like this year when you have plenty of Minot drivers to walk around or plenty of North Dakota drivers to walk around and visit with all week. Because it really sets up perfectly for Adam and Brock. They're good friends.
Yeah.
And Brock races Monday, Tuesday. Then Adam takes over on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
They can help each other.
Yeah.
I like
They're both going solo. Well, Corey Hawksburn's coming now. But at one point, it was both of them driving down solo, all by themselves. They can help each other, park next to one another. That was the plan the whole time. So.
Yeah.
Tom Berry Jr. is a defending champ. He has his car up for sale.
I see he had the US MTS car up for sale.
I think he's sick of the expensive motors not lasting very long.
That's kind of what it smelled like. Yeah, I agree with that. I know when he pulled the plug on it, he broke 2 in one day. And
yeah, he changed one for the feature or something
Yeah.
and broke that one in the feature.
He said, they're both broke, I'm done. in that simple of words. So
a little earlier schedule. We got we're finishing up. We got Devil's Lake, Botno on Saturday, Estevan on Saturday. That's where we'll be. Minot Sunday. Now that chance of shenanigans in the morning is back again. But we'll let the forecast level itself out before we talk about it too much.
I just realized Estevan's going and Devil's Lake's going at the same time. Now I'm torn.
No.
Well, you always have Darn TV replay to catch up on
that's
Estevan.
true. The Hammer would be good. Again, I've only been there once, and I'm already feeling like I need to be back there.
That's got to be hard for you with your buddy down there racing. Not being
right. I was his crew chief last time, and but like you say, replays. We'll have to get caught up on replays.
Nodak Speedway Sunday, hobby stocks, sport mods, stock cars, non-wing sprint cars, and INEX Legends.
Mm-hmm.
And the man posted a tidbit. We just talked about all these guys coming around, loving North Dakota. Did you see what he posted?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Kevin Harvick's boy coming to run a Legend.
Keelan.
That's super cool.
I saw it on the news of all places tonight at 6 o'clock.
I looked at that picture, and I could have swore it was Sladen.
Yeah, 11 years, yeah.
They're a part of a group that's up here right now, and I caught wind that he might
Just caught that tonight.
Last when we were doing the regional qualifier, I was talking with the Glenn Mitchell, the Aussie. Ozzy.
Oi, oi.
Oi, oi, oi. And he said that there's a group coming up from North Carolina to race dirt, and they wanted to spend a week and a half here. So they were here last weekend. He raced Fargo, Jamestown. Where'd they race on Thursday? They raced somewhere on Thursday. Ada?
Wishick or something.
They raced somewhere on Thursday. They raced 3 out of the 4 nights. Sunday they were supposed to race in Glendon, but it rained out. Mm-hmm. Joe Ryan Motorsports, they're big in the Legends. I think there's 5 or 6 of the cars coming up that are part of the group, and Keelan Harvick is one of the 5.
Right here in Minot.
That's going to be pretty fun. So
AJ Foyt was here in 57.
Randy LaJoie was here.
Yeah. Cutting Brody's in the 2-seater.
That didn't work out so well, did it?
No. Backwards.
Yeah, so Keelan Harvick, that's going to be a big one. I mean, 10 years old. I'll be interested to see how competitive he is. I know he comes from Kevin Harvick. Obviously, he's probably been in a race car a lot longer than most 10-year-olds.
Yeah, seemingly. But nonetheless, as I just shared, A.J. Foyt was here.
Yep.
And 20 years from now, when he's a NASCAR star, whatever that is, you say, when he was young, he brought a Legend car to Minot, North Dakota.
Yep.
So now we'll go. And we talked about it on the Dirt Weekly.
Hey,
here it is.
Kevin Harvick could be here. It ain't nothing to fly him in.
Well, he's going to be in Watkins Glen. I mean,
is that a Sunday show or a Saturday show?
Sunday. So if they finish up, maybe he'll fly
That's
in
what
or
I'm
whatever.
thinking.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, I know Dirt Weekly gets a lot of viewership, and I know it's all over the world. So, Kevin, if you watch this, you're invited to the Darn TV Worldwide Headquarters Studio Office, and we can do an impromptu Dirt Weekly.
We'll get around to Busch Lattes.
Yep.
We got a supplier.
I'll bring whatever it takes.
Come on in, Kevin. It'd be fun.
Fear of the rear. We kind of jumped out of line on the rundown here, but fear of the rear moment of the week. You got one?
Well, I'm going to go all the way back to Oktoberfest last year.
Holy cow.
And I was feeling bad for Adam Goff because he put his car in his lid in Mandan last year.
I think that was Mod Tour.
That was Mod Tour, yeah.
That was Mod Tour last year.
And, just slowly as we're going along, Dickinson finishes 3rd, running right up in there. And since that Mod Tour this year, he's just flat out studding it. I mean, I can't remember a night
pinning him down, isn't he?
that he hasn't won.
Yeah.
McLean County.
Quite a few.
Nodak last week. Estevan. Or just Williston.
Yeah. Williston.
Think he won his heat in Estevan. No, I don't think he didn't win his heat.
Yeah.
But he's been just on it, a ripper.
He's getting her done. He is getting her done, yes.
So every time he's talking and he's dropping that motor builder and things that he's doing, it's just my ears are perked up at what's going on. And he's looking at you. As good as he's doing, he's wanting to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
In the 5 car.
In the 5 car. That's a true story. I had the conversation before noon today. So, yeah, we both kind of giggled a little when I left. So
Did he tell you his nickname he gave me after Saturday?
No.
Oh,
no.
I'll let him tell you.
Oh. He said he wants to put a set of gears together for Boone. That's about all I got out of it, and we're going to do that. But
well, he gave me a nickname now after Saturday, my heat race win, and it's not Heat Race Hero. That's what I call it myself. I'll let him tell you. You ask him next time you see him.
Update me, Adam.
That's a good fear of the
Update
rear.
me.
I don't really have one. I mean, the hobby stock battles. We're getting down. There's a pretty good state points battle going on. I think the Sport Mod one has kind of separated itself. I think the stock car one, there's only Adam travels quite a bit.
Adam's got to have that
the
covered,
mod
I would
one,
think,
Marcus travels a lot in the mod one, so there's a big gap. But the fear of the rear moment is these guys that are battling it out in the hobby stocks that every single week, and they're taking on that state points and track points because I think they got to be battling out just about every track for a championship, so.
Yeah.
Hats off to you guys for
it's
the
time.
amount of nights you race.
We're getting down to the nitty gritty. It's almost over. So
I know Kyler's chasing some of that national point stuff. Unfortunately,
I've seen that they had posted they were in 7th there. I think is what they had. And when that all settles down, track championships have got a bonus value also. So some of what you're looking at will change because there will be drivers that will have. I think you can count up to 2 championships, and it's based on a car count average
up to
for your
20 points
per your point value.
Yeah, so a perfect score is 1,040 as far as I know, because it's 25 nights out of your first 50. Because they lowered the numbers here recently within the last couple of years.
Right. COVID had moved that around a little bit.
25
Right. It used to be
nights,
30, but it's 25 now. Okay.
25 out of your first 50. Well, if you win 25 features at 40 points each, that's 1,000 points, and you get bonus points for up to 20 based on car count. So if you win a championship and you only average 10 cars, you only get 10 bonus points.
You only get a 10 bonus point, yeah.
So if you average 20 or more, you get the full 20.
Yeah. And to reflect on that, that was Jason Wallace's deal when he won the modifieds that one year.
The
he had
bonus
won Mandan
points.
and Nodak.
Yep.
So he had, and Mandan at the time was the biggest IMCA weekly track. So he had done what you need to do to win the national championship. So
them guys dedicated to race all summer long. Hats off to them.
Yeah.
Because that's fear in the rear in the.
Yeah.
And they've been putting on a show. We talk about them every week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They work hard at it. They don't ever stop working at it. There was some talk with mine at Raining Out Sunday that early enough. There was some talk that they were going to try to head to Glendon, but
Max and Brandon were heading to Glendon.
Heading to Glendon also. So
we were loaded up from the night before. We never even unloaded.
And then watching the weather, of course, that canceled that. So good on them. I mean, when you still want to race bad in August, that's impressive. I've had those years. I'm not what I used to be, but
I just wanted to add Glendon to the list of tracks that I've raced at. That was my thing. I've never raced there. So
quirky facts: I've never raced in Minnesota ever.
At all.
Ever. So I've raced in Florida, Ohio, and Texas, but I've never raced in Minnesota. So who'd have guessed?
Nick Hulberg, if you're watching this, if you made it to this point, now you have a trivia question.
So right. Yeah. I've never raced in Minnesota.
Hot sauce, spicy topic. Isaac texted me one. I don't know if we have the length of show available to do the one he wants, but we can roll with his after you. We know you got one.
Yeah, look at him.
He's excited.
Yeah,
about
he's up
it.
on the bars.
Well,
he's lifted up a little.
I'm curious about this Isaac one. What's that one all about?
The Isaac one is one that we've talked about. Jordan and I have talked about at length. He wanted me to revisit it because we're coming up on championship weekend. moving the championship night for a lot of these tracks to July 4th weekend. It's a hot sauce topic. It is a super volatile topic. We've discussed it at length amongst groups. We've also had some beers and discussed it at length. There's been alcohol involved in our ideas that go on. I don't drink a whole bunch, but sometimes when I do,
it gets fun.
Yeah. Basically, what the hot sauce is from Isaac is championship night at Nodak would have been July 4th. Okay? We would have crowned our 5 champions July 4th, our 5 track champions. Done with the point season July 4th. And you'd come back. Now, this is where you, a race fan of Nodak, wouldn't like it so much because Nodak, we would start, we'd take our fair break, and Dirt Wars would kick off the doubleheader season. You'd go Dirt Wars, Mandan, Underwood, and then you'd roll in Nodak would have a doubleheader, and then Nodak wouldn't race again until Motor Magic. And then you'd roll Williston doubleheader, a Dickinson doubleheader, however weekends. I think there's 3 weekends in between. So you'd have tracks, a Botno doubleheader. You'd have to logistically work out which tracks get the doubleheaders. But the month of August would basically imitate the month of September.
Yes.
That's how you would start your doubleheader season earlier, a month earlier. Because when you get to this time of year, we talk about it, the dog days of summer, you're wore out, you're tired. You're maybe not all for traveling. You want to go park at a spot, race 2 nights, come home. That's the hot sauce topic. But as a race fan of Nodak, you just took a fair break off, a 3-week fair break. We're going to come back and hit you with a double header.
I think it's longer than 3.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
We're going to hit you with a double header right out of the gate. And then you're not going to get to see racing again until 3 nights at Motor Magic.
Oof.
As a race fan, what's your thoughts? How hot sauce is that?
Oh, my gosh.
Terrible?
Well, this one seemed long. All right. Because we had our 4-week break.
Yep.
And we came back with a nice thing of racing, but you weren't there.
Yep.
The mods weren't there.
Normal
and
classes.
then
3
we get rained out.
Yeah.
So
weather in there.
Our 4-week break has turned into 6 weeks.
We're almost experiencing it accidentally.
Yep, exactly.
So that's tough. It's tough.
And it's where the spiciness, where the big hot sauce comes out of this is, in my mind, it's partially my idea. I think I'm one of the first ones that kind of developed this idea in my mind, and kind of and told some people about it, and then it kind of grew legs, and we actually had a discussion at our scheduling meeting around.
Travis and I have talked about it quite a bit too. So
the Dark Horse and Brandon got together on the phone is where this all originated. Okay, coming back on Sunday nights. I'm just going to be straightforward with you guys. I've ran the Nodak Speedway for 6+ years, 2 years not as president, but Tom Henderson was president. I was right underneath him as vice. Okay. The month of August, Nodak Speedway does not make money. It's plain and simple. You guys want me to open up the books for you? I will open up the books.
It didn't in my days either.
The month of August, we don't get the fans.
It's harvest.
It's harvest season.
School.
We don't get the fans. People are going back to school. A show that would make us $1,000 to $1,500 in June or May is now all of a sudden losing $1,000 to $2,000 in August. So where my idea came was, how do we fix that? Me, as the Nodak Speedway president, was charged of not running the Nodak Speedway out of money. This thing is not going to fail under my watch. So that's where
that's an important deal.
That's where the other hot sauce topic of the week can be the class rotation that was implemented by me. I take full responsibility for the class rotation as the classes having nights off. But when you're doing this stuff and you're trying to run Nodak like a business, how can you go from you're walking on pins and needles. You're making 1,000 here, you're losing 1,000 there. You're making 1,500, you're losing 2,000 here. You're making 3,000, you're losing another 15. You're back.
You're surviving
and forth.
on sponsorship.
Yep, you're surviving on sponsorships. And I always made a goal. I wanted to make money on race night, and the sponsorship money would go towards improvements at the racetrack.
Equipment. Paint the place up.
Yes. So with that, with only running a double header, you get people in there, you run them 2 nights, take 3 weeks off. Do I lose the fans I already got? The 400 regulars? Am I going to lose the 400 regulars that come every Sunday?
It's not an easy answer.
Am I going to lose the Craig Heipels? Or are you going to – well, I'm just the 400 regulars that come every Sunday. When you guys see it on the schedule, you're going to be there.
They're not going to like it not being there.
They're not going to like it.
Maybe Nodak gets 2 weekends in August instead of 1.
Right. But
3's too many, but a late model special or something that goes touring through here or something. So, but, yeah.
Well, that's what it would be. You would come back in August.
Or we get our World of Outlaw night back. That'd be a big trade-off.
You'd come back in August, and
that's actually pretty valid right there.
Right there.
Yeah. That's yeah. That's worth writing down.
Getting with them guys, it'd be. See, and I lost my contact when Larry Hillerud passed away.
That was a spicy topic of its own when Justin was here.
Was it? Yeah.
The World of Outlaws.
Yeah, Hillerud passing that
was
lose
my
a lot
contact.
of contact. Yeah.
That was my guy that I would contact and talk to. So
that's how it grew legs right there. Yeah. Larry. So, but nonetheless, it's still out there somewhere. It could be found.
So as you're watching or listening to this, and you think, man, Brandon, you're dumb. Why would you do such a thing? These ideas don't just come out of thin air. And rarely does this idea has been floating around, I think, since 2019. If I remember right, Travis and I first talked about it.
Yeah.
And it's never came to fruition. These ideas that we come up with, they don't just get implemented right away when we have them. There's a lot of thought, and I try to talk to people before we do it.
Been involved in a bunch of it myself. And just to bang around on some other angles of that deal is when you're running all these tracks and you're doing good in points, you're starting at the back all summer long. When you get into September, it's usually a draw straight up deal, or it should be. So then you can make August into September. 'Cause September, a lot of times you're up against weather. The fall around is up against snow. I mean, or at least cold. At least cold. I shouldn't say snow, cold. The Stampede is up against both. That's the week later. So September, as much as we want to race these fall specials, I mean, we are really cold is an issue. So if we can bring some of that back into August, we have August, September specials. Then we have May, June, July points deals. So, not this year, but the year before, we had called championship on that 4th of July weekend in Underwood. And then come back a month later with the Cole County. And I thought that had pretty good rhythm to it, if you will. So, but
any status on that?
Not that I can. I have nothing tonight. I have nothing
Gotcha.
tonight. We just haven't had a meeting. So.
Yeah, we're racing Wednesday. You haven't heard yet? I'm just joking. Don't take me serious.
No, we got nothing there. But so that spicy deal there. Like I say, the fall shows are certainly fun. To get out of that point monotonous deal, I mean, before the next 2 weeks are over with, there's going to be some happy people and mad people.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can move that back a month and get into, I think these specials, as I say about points, you're in them until you're not in them. And for a lot of people, that's right away. So that's a long summer for, I don't know what the percentage is. There's a number there. So then you get into this fall type format, and you can come and go as you please. I mean, you don't lose your spot. You don't lose anything.
The fall
typically they pay more, so the fan sees some traveling.
Yeah, some different cars.
So
and the doubleheader entices traveling.
Yeah,
you'll have more people. Maybe
1 tank of gas, 2 feature pays.
Yep.
So that kind of
as a racer,
scenario.
This scenario works best. I would call it for the racer. starting the doubleheader season earlier.
Yeah, because the race club side of it struggles with the doubleheader.
Yep.
Second day usually isn't as good.
I would call the race clubs are kind of in the middle of it because the doubleheader isn't always the best, but racing sometimes only having one weekend in August might put a little bit more
emphasis on
being
there
as a race fan. You know,
I'll wait till next week. No, you won't. This is the week. Yeah.
You know, this is it. And then you don't have some of the loser nights that you have in August. You know,
dragging you down,
dragging the financials for the whole season down.
Yeah.
And then you hit Motor
Your
Magic.
great tour night got all whittled away on 3 weeks in August.
So you're saying that this rainout this past weekend at Nodak was a little bit of a blessing, possibly.
Financially, yes.
Financially, yeah.
Yes.
Financially,
yeah. And I don't want to say it so cavalier, but financially, yes. Racing-wise, no. We're just getting closer to fall. So,
right. Yeah.
But
financially, for the Nodak Speedway, I mean, there's enough money in the account that they can sustain some losses. But financially, if you're running each race night as a business night, if you know, like you run your store month to month, I'm guessing you look at monthly P&Ls. Well, how I set up the Nodak Speedway is instead of monthly P&Ls, because we're only a 4-month business.
Yeah.
I set it up as a nightly P&L. So basically, when there's 17 nights on the schedule, there's 17 nightly P&Ls, just like you have 12 monthly P&Ls. You catch it?
Yep.
So you're getting rid of some of them loser nights, so then the end number at the end of the year is looking a little better.
I really like to look at those when we go into the cold of winter and stuff like that because it really allows you time to really absorb the pros and cons, the P&L, the profit and loss. But, I mean, the pros and cons of different weekends. I've shared with you in Underwood that the Tougher Than Dirt is a very important night for us. You know, the fair night. Almost all of our nights are special because we're not a weekly track.
Right.
We're a where we fit track, and we like that, and we're not, and we can't overdo it. So, but nonetheless, I know from my own experience in the Nodak boardroom, August it's a painful month financially.
I don't think that. I think that was very beneficial that you shared that information about how the health of the track is not good in August, because I know fans that will say, I got to go to the races. They need me. And another thing, back to
and
that,
we appreciate that.
Yeah,
very
100%.
much so.
And back to that World of Outlaws deal, that was always in August to give it a shot in the arm. But one thing that always was beneficial for, we've talked about when the late models would show up and Donnie would be here. If we knew and you could get it out there, that always helped the track. So even more to our favor that Bruce Rudland posted that about young Harvick being here to get excitement coming about this Sunday. So bravo, Bruce. And
So if you noticed,
Bruce knows this dialogue too. You bet.
We forget so fast previous years, but it sticks with me because I was in the muddy waters running the racetrack.
When it was lean.
When it was lean, the World of Outlaws went away. Okay, they were there one year and gone the next. That first year that we didn't have them, you remember late models with Donnie Schatz being here? We tried everything. We needed a bigger show to come back in August with to try to help make August a profitable month. And it worked 2 years. Donnie came the first 2 years that late model show. NLRA late models came back.
It was the first weekend in August.
Because it worked out that he was just finishing up or just heading to...
Getting ready to go to Knoxville.
He had to fly out Sunday night to go to Knoxville because he was going to the Knoxville Nationals the next week or whatever. So, them NLRA late models, they stuck around for 2 more years after without Donnie. But even them, without the pull of Donnie Schatz, them late models coming in is a very big financial burden on a racetrack. If you put 20 of them there, it's over $10,000 just for late models.
Yeah. On a lean grandstand.
So you're looking at that night with late models all of a sudden going from profitable to not profitable. Well, then how long do you do something that's not profitable? Because ultimately, as I say, that racetrack was not going to fail under my watch. Yeah. And Smalls has the same attitude. This place is not going to fail under my watch, which is how you have to be.
You have to be. And again, as a selfish race car driver, I understand that.
Yep.
You have to. It don't matter what we race or how many laps. All that doesn't matter if you don't have any money. So you got to have the money first.
Yep.
And then the rest of it's a good discussion. So, yeah.
But with that saying, the month of August will still, until a schedule like if that schedule that I just laid out, that the hot sauce topic, where Nodak,
and that is a very rough draft.
Very, 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 very rough draft. Nothing is set in stone. It's not happening next year.
No.
As of now, it's not happening next year. I can't tell you when it's going to happen. I don't know.
Maybe never.
Maybe never.
You mentioned that about the lineup on the Tougher Than Dirt
that's
Tour, and
true.
you implemented it in the next day.
Doing it this weekend? Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to get at.
There's nothing cooking here.
Right. The month of August is not going to change. Nodak is going to continue to try to do things in August to maybe not lose as much money on race nights. And hopefully we hit on something. Bringing the World of Outlaws back would be a great boost in the arm. To clarify how the World of Outlaws work, though, Nodak only gets a check from SLS Promotions.
A flat fee.
For X amount of dollars, and that's it.
Yeah.
We don't get any of the grandstand.
You're right.
It's just
we are subcontractors.
Subcontractor to SLS Promotion. SLS Promotion is renting the facility from the fairgrounds. So it's not like Nodak is bringing in all that big grandstand. You see the 4,000 people up there. That's not money in Nodak's pocket.
Just to clarify, one more step, you're being careful. So let's just hypothetical numbers. SLS gives Nodak $10,000 to prep the track and clean up the grandstand and do everything. And then whatever the grandstand comes in is SNL's number. SLS's. I'm sorry, SLS. That's their numbers. So hypothetically, let's say they bring in $100,000 and their payoff is
75 or whatever.
Yeah, it was 60, we'll say.
Yep.
And they gave us 10, that's 70. They left with 30. That's the way the world works. But it would be a plus in hypothetical numbers.
You're almost guaranteeing a positive.
At least you have a positive weekend.
A positive weekend.
And maybe that covers the next 2 weekends that aren't so much. I think every racetrack is prepared for that. I think in Underwood, we can teeter-totter on a $2,500 number. We can lose it, we can gain it, and we can bounce along in that. Now, Nodak being bigger, I'm going to say they can teeter-totter on a $5,000 deal. But when you get 3 $5,000 deals, it's like, what's going on here?
Well,
what are we doing wrong here?
You take 4th of July is our biggest night of the year usually.
Yeah.
This year the Mod Tour beat it by a little bit, but usually the 4th of July is our biggest night. And that's a big win night. Usually that's a $14,000, $15,000 gain on the 4th of July because you bring all them extra people to watch the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
That goes away. By the end of August, that money's all
That's
gone.
been whittled away because the weekly purse has ate it up. And even though we have 400 or 500 strong
race
grandstand people,
that don't pay
we don't have the other 1,000 to make it a break-even deal. Every racetrack's goal is to break even at the very least.
That's all you want.
Yeah. So.
And then you roll into Motor Magic, which scares the shit out of everybody because the purse at Motor Magic is upwards between, if you add all 3 nights up together, it's about $60,000.
About a 20 spot a night then.
Yeah.
So you throw in a cold night, you throw in a rainy looking day,
and all of a sudden
all the race cars show up, but nobody shows up to watch.
And all of a sudden Motor Magic turns into a big loser.
Yeah. So at that 60 number, you maybe only brought in 40, and 20 is a big number to lose.
You guys listening to this and watching this, you just sat at a boardroom meeting.
Yeah, you just caught the heart of a good 20 below night.
So when you're sitting there in the grandstands or you're sitting at home and you're jumping on Facebook and you're hammering that we don't have a clue what we're doing running a racetrack. And I accept all that because you want to know something? I didn't have a clue on how to run a racetrack when I came in here to do it, But
when people get put in boardrooms and you're confident that they like racing, that's a good start.
Yep.
But eventually the carriage turns back into a pumpkin, and you got to keep it somewhere in between there. So, marketplace, and when we get the dome, when we get the dome.
Craig will understand when he's vice president of the dome.
Yeah.
Marketplace dome.
We ain't getting out of here without it.
we needed it last week so bad.
You know, and that's we need the dome to cover the rain in the on season.
Yep.
And then we have the winter series when it really kicks in. But
the cold is not a factor anymore.
Yeah. The sunlight, we race at 1 in the afternoon or 1 in the night or 1 in the morning. It is all the same.
Asphyxiation is a real concern, but whatever.
Ventilation. We'll get the best there is. This is going on.
Yeah.
I like that Lucas Oil Stadium picture you sent.
Yep.
That's about the right size. That's a full-size quarter-mile indoors.
It already has the sponsorship on that track. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, and then amongst ourselves here, I mean, you send a picture of the St. Louis deal, and then Brandon tuned it up. The marketplace.
I know it.
You need to have that picture. We got to get that next time. So yeah, I mean,
it's over there.
It was just everybody. I mean, I can't let this dome go by without a little shot every night, because
we've talked finances.
Stranger things have happened.
It's just money.
So stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Nick's got the land.
If we build it, they'll come.
Yeah,
God,
right.
I can just imagine that thing out on Nick's land. You're going to be driving south on Highway 83, and it's just far enough off the highway.
Yeah.
You know, just far enough. You're going to look over there, average person, just the average person, non-race fan, non-whatever. They're going to look over there and go, what is that monstrosity over there?
What is that castle?
What is that thing over there?
The Marketplace store van will be the official pace car every night.
Yeah.
And I'll be driving it. Come on.
They'll say, Boeing must be building airplanes over there. No, nothing profitable like that at all. This is for race cars.
Bruce is on the headset. Awesome. Hype will bring in the van. Nope. I'm going green.
I can't hear you. So, yeah.
Do you want to race a car one night or what?
No, I'm all right with that.
Are you sure?
It was a clear yes. You
seem all excited about getting out there in a van or Larry's Corvette or something. I mean, there's a 5-car that's plenty fast.
It's got brakes, too.
Let me reference.
Once it let up.
Let me reference the 50th anniversary. Again, when you allowed someone to drive the car, I would hate to do that 21 years.
Well, we should get a 2-seater going again because, well, yeah, you need to ride with Steven to get the full effect.
As we just made reference about drive shafts coming through the passenger window.
Well, we would build that up well in that, and I think we did have it built up pretty well. But yeah, awesome.
About done for the night. Sun's down, 10 o'clock, 2.5 hours. Good show.
Not bad.
Everybody that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking out. If you guys stick around till this part of the show, God bless you.
See you in Estevan.
Yeah, see you all in Estevan, and mine out on Sunday because Shenanigans is going to stay away.
Yeah. I think they are. Yeah.
I don't see it in the forecast.
No. Just don't look at the forecast, and you won't see it in the forecast.
Right. AM. Morning. Way up there.
Craig, Jorn, Brandon, thanks for watching. See you this weekend
at
a
the
racetrack.